Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. Welcome to Collecting Profit. You're joining us again with my co-host Michael Huddle Card Collection. And there's a rookie move right there. That's what happens when you show
Row.
up the stream. But guys, I appreciate you joining us this week. We have an excellent guest with us as always, Steve Splenda from Splenda's Sports Cards. Steve, thank you so much for joining us, man. Could you just run down who you are for anybody who might not be familiar with you yet?
Yeah, sure. First off, thank you both for having me. I greatly appreciate you guys inviting me on. Tony, I know we kind of ran into each other in a show in PA in Washington. But yeah, man, if anybody might know me, I've been on streams with AIH. A few other guys have had me on before. Cousins Collectibles, Rob the Therapist has had me on his platform before. I don't do content. I don't have a YouTube channel. I just when I'm invited onto streams, I'm happy to give my unfiltered thoughts. And yeah, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. I'm a collector. I'm a passionate enthusiast of cardboard pictures of men.
That's what I like about you, man, is like you just are who you are, and like you are what this hobby is about. You know what I mean? More so than somebody that's going to give a predetermined opinion on something. And what I mean by that is like basically regurgitate something a company has told them to say about their product. You're going to actually say the way it is. If you feel like it sucks, you're going to be like, hey, this sucks because of this. And honestly, I feel like that's what the hobby needs, is people that'll just tell you the way it is. You know what I mean? Like, for example, before we even went live, we were talking about cards of like Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, even David Robinson, Steve Nash, these great Hall of Fame type players that, if you would have been investing in their cards in the 90s, you would be taking a bath on them right now, regardless of championships, regardless of stats and pedigree. Like the fact of the matter is, a lot of these ultra modern cards that many people are running after right now are going to literally be the Sean Kemps of the world moving forward. The Gary Paytons, which great players, like wonderful to still collect those type of players. But if you got into their cards thinking, I'm going to get rich and retire off of Sean Kemp one day, that didn't work out for you. You're probably still working. But again, that's what I really appreciate about you. And big shout out to even AIH who's in the chat. That's actually where I first heard of you from, was from watching some of AIH's live streams. Big fan of the content that him and even Dan the Card Man, both of them are in the chat.
We got the Aussies in the chat, man.
Yep.
Parabellum too.
Aussie with us too. My guy Dave over at Parabellum. Appreciate you being here, Dave. We got your brother Ryan in the chat. Appreciate you being here, Ryan.
Yeah, shout out AIH, Dan the Card Man, great guys. I talk to them very often, mainly because our mindsets and our the way our outlooks on the hobby are very similar. Appreciate those guys because I bounce my ideas off them, and like they keep me in the loop on stuff that I have questions about. Those guys, like a lot of people who have a negative connotation of them, it's like I think you're getting that from a mainstream sponsored perspective. Like if you're a true collector and you really want to be in this space, like those are some of the voices you need to be like listening to, because like you were saying about me, which honestly I'm flattered and I really appreciate, but like guys like that who actually do the work and have the receipts to help someone like me, who's just a passionate collector, formulate my ideas and my thoughts, where it's like, yeah, I agree. Like this stuff isn't as honky dory as they try to make it out to be. And there's things you need to be skeptical of. And it's okay to be skeptical. It's okay to ask questions. And I think a lot of this sponsored, like we were talking earlier, this sponsored mainstream influencing thing, like we were talking about guys that you're investing in, like that's what kind of bothers me a little bit about what's going on in this hobby space right now, is like you have guys telling you, jump on this, invest in this. And it's like, Peyton Manning rookies aren't worth, anything comparable to what these Trevor Lawrences are going for right now. And it's a dangerous precedent, because it's like we're talking about Hall of Fame basketball players, like guys who've etched their name in history in their sport, And it's like they're not worth it. So like, what makes you think the LaMelo Balls and these guys who have no accomplishment? There's just so much hype and pumping going on in this space that guys like me, us, who are collectors, like we kind of get the raw end of the deal, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned Peyton Manning, and you think about what he has done for football. What's going to happen when his nephew Arch gets a card when he gets drafted in the NFL? Look at that. If that, I mean, that's nuts thinking where the value of his card is going to be versus his uncle, who is considered one of the best ever.
This is
crazy.
It's insane to think and fathom, because those first autos, those first big cards that come out of Prism or whatever set you prefer. Like, if you really sit back and think about it, like I was just saying, like his Topps Chrome rookie doesn't go for that much. Why would you be putting all this money into a guy who, like, I get he's got the name, he's got a good lineage based off his family, but it's like, merit metrics and accomplishments have to come into a factor here. And it's like, how many guys can, like, without a doubt say they're better all-time quarterbacks than Peyton Manning? You got Tom Brady, and then you can start debating from there. Maybe. But like Peyton's right. If he's not 2, he's 3. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Depending how you want to argue it, he's certainly top 5.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's like we're seeing his price metric, and then we're seeing like Desmond Ridder.
Right.
Like last year. Who was last year? Who was the dude in Minnesota?
Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond, bro. Like, we're seeing things, and like, I feel like
Trey Lance.
Yeah, amen. And people will still pump him up going into this season. And it's like, is he even going to play over Purdy? Do we know? So it's like, why would you be comfortable putting thousands of dollars into certain rare cards? Because we were talking, I think there's fabricated scarcity going on too, where you think you have a rare card, but it's like when you really go set diving, you're like, wait a minute. How many rookie cards does this guy have in just this set? How many 1-of-1s does this guy have? It's just a tough time right now, because I think the grassroots hobby, what we all grew up with, it's become monopolized and pumped.
It really has, to see like big business now, like sinking their teeth into what was like our little hobby that, like, it wasn't popular before. Now it's like, if you go to a card show, half of the guys there are basically hype beasts. You know what I mean? Before, there was a whole bunch of guys that like would not brag about this around their friends or their girlfriends.
Listen, bro, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I remember being 16, 17 years old, still going to card shows, and like, I wouldn't tell my friends. Like, that was my thing. Like, it was my getaway. And like you said, like, talking about your LaDainian Tomlinson piece, he was not going to get you dating a hot cheerleader in high school. Like, let's be real here. So like, it was like its own little niche thing and its own grassroots community, in which, what's more important, it was its own grassroots marketplace. Like, true collectors dictated price market, because it was like, how collectible is your Marino rookie? How collectible is Elway? You know what I mean? And like, yeah, we'd have a price guide, but like, still, it was far more grassroots natural, and it made sense. And I get inflation and things happen, but it's like, where we've come to, I think it's fabricated. It's been so manipulated by sponsored voices, like you said, people being bought out, companies being bought out. It's just a crazy thing. Like, I hate to sound like doom and gloom and Mr. Negative, but it's like, we remember how it was in the 90s and like even the early 2000s. It's just not like that now.
Okay, so all right, so I've been collecting longer than you guys are alive. I started collecting in 1976.
Yeah, you got me beat.
OG out here.
And I tell this all the time to people. When my friends and I we'd go to the candy store, because they actually had these stores, folks, that like just sold candy and like, cards and crap. Like, it's a stationery store. It's crazy stuff. And you had the cards and the packs most of the time were clear packs, right? So we looked at the packs. We weren't looking to see a superstar. We were looking to go and look, hey, there's only 25 cards. If I got the top card and I already have the bottom card, I'm not buying that pack.
Yep.
And when we bought them, that's right, back in the day, when we bought them, you went through and you went, got him, got him, got him. Ooh, need him, got him, got him, got him. And then all the cards that you already had, you gave to your friend. I give to my buddy and go, here, do you need any of these?
Yep.
And he might pick out 5. He would give me his. I might pick out 3 and I go, okay, cool. There was no value associated with, hey, man, these 5 are really worth, equivalent of 10. No, it was, you need those 5. I need those 3. Thank you very much. Here's your doubles back. Let's go have fun.
Back when it was about collecting.
It was all about collecting, and that's how you built sets.
Yeah.
You didn't, we didn't go out to buy the 1977 tops that are already done. We'd buy packs and just go, here you go. You need these, I need those. Thanks a lot, and move on.
So, to piggyback off what you're talking about, like what for my generation would have been like 99. We were doing that with Pokemon. Of course, I collected sports cards, but Pokemon was like a huge thing in my youth. I was born in 90, so I'd have been like 9, 10 years old. So when that came out, that's what our buddies did. I mean, we didn't do that with the holos, but like your base card, like, oh man, I don't have this one, and we would kind of, and that's how you started trading. And that's how like it became its own fun, marketplace where it's like, you didn't put, like you were saying, you didn't put this emphasis on the value. It was more like, I don't have this one. You don't have this one. Let's exchange and trade. We both win, but that's what kind of scares me, because we have so many talking voices talking about growing the hobby, and they pretend that, we got to get kids involved. And it's like, how are you going about this? Like, are you doing it with this gambling emphasis, this investing emphasis? Because I don't know if that's the best way to, because like I said to Tony, when we ran into each other at the show, how many kids do you have coming to your table? Like, I'm looking for Allen, I'm trying to think more modern. What would kids do? I'm looking for John Morant. I'm looking for LaMelo Ball because I collect. Or you got kids showing up with a Pelican case saying, are you buying?
Yeah.
And it's
with
like
better collection than me.
Yeah, I just don't see the kids collecting. Like I remember I was hunting for LaDainian Tomlinson, Jerry Rice, Yep. I just don't see that out of the youth in the hobby. It's all about, how can I buy this so I can flip it for this?
Yeah. 100%. It's sad to see that too, because like that's so shallow as far as like depth of hobby, because once you get beyond the point of, hey, I'm not making money on this now, it's no longer fun, and it's no longer something that I think a lot of the kids with that mindset are going to want to partake in. So it's going to probably be something that's almost kind of like a phase for them, as a part of something that could be a long-lasting like fixture in their life. Like most of us, like growing up, like you're hunting after your Tomlinsons. I was over there chasing after Jerome Bettis or Cordell Stewart, or like any of my Steelers or Cavaliers and stuff like that. And I'm sure Mike was doing the exact same thing with his Mets and stuff.
Yeah.
And like that's something that like years later, those Cordell Stewarts that are now worthless, they're still valuable to me, because it's like, damn, I remember where I was when I got this Cordell Stewart card. It was at that card show off of that guy and XYZ, you know what I mean? So it's like almost like something that holds its own like little memory outside of just, hey, that's a cool card of Cordell doing X, Y, or Z. It's now attached to a person or a place.
Yeah, I think what Dan says, he says about concerned about the foundation of set collecting is not, it is removed from the modern hobby. And he's right, because when you do hear about set collectors, look, they're the older guys. They really are the older guys. Now it seems as though it's the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got to get the rainbow. Well, the rainbow is like 85 cards now for some of these freaking guys.
God, it's so hard. It's so hard to collect rainbows.
You know what, though? Do you really? I mean, I haven't met a person yet. I've been a lot of places, a lot of states, different shows. I've yet to find anybody that's like, I'm working on the rainbow set. I just don't see many people doing that. So it's like, was it a neat idea? Maybe on paper, but as far as it translates to the hobby and collecting, I just don't see collectors trying to go for the rainbow. I mean, I'm sure it's out there. But like, I'm pretty involved in the hobby. I just don't see it. Are you into that, Mike? You trying to?
I am trying to get so my favorite baseball player, the player that I collect the most, is Fred Lynn. I'm trying to get the Topps 2021 Chrome Anniversary. I'm trying to get all the different cards out of that set from him. But here's the thing: there's two different one of ones. There's a one of one without an autograph and one of one with an autograph, and then there's one of fives without autographs. So I'm not gonna get it
Right.
because who knows if those cards. It's not something that you can get in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because you have to wait for that card to be pulled, and hopefully that whoever got it puts it up for sale, and you happen to see it at that particular point in time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, it's not like you can even say, hey, it's easy to get the rainbow. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because if the one
Once
of
you
ones,
start-
the one of fives, the one of
Yeah.
tens, you got to hope somebody opens it and puts it on sale, and you catch it at that particular moment.
It's tough.
And
Like,
then it's
even-
affordable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to try to do the rainbows of like Cavalier players that suck. Like, well, I don't want to say suck, but like, for example, Jetty Osman, he doesn't suck. He's like a
Right.
big deal in Turkey, but like, I mean, unless you're a diehard Cavalier fan, you don't care about Jetty Osman. So
Right.
like guys like him, I would try to like collect like the rainbow of because they were cheap. But then it got to a point like I can't believe I just spent that much money on a damn Jetty Osman card.
Dude, I was just gonna say, 'cause
playing and it's
once you
worthless.
get to the out of tens, fives, and well, like you were saying, the one of ones, it's like, man, is this really smart to be putting this money into this? And then once you
Yeah.
have, and see, that's what I wanted to say earlier is like, and I'm not against collecting, formulating the rainbow. I'm just something I've noticed where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that translates to set collecting like it was back in the day, because guys would set collect. You see vintage guys still going through dollar boxes, and they're trying to build them sets. I just don't think you have the quantity of collectors motivated for the rainbow set, if that's a fair way to say it.
No, I think it's a smaller. I think definitely it's a smaller crowd, and I think it's one of those ones where when you look at it, it's not going to be the superstar.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to pull it off. I mean, only if you're the normal Joe, you're not going to be able to pull off a rainbow, of Trevor Lawrence, or Joe Burrow, or something like that of their rookie year, something along those lines.
Oh, dude, could you imagine? And you know what's sad is say you did complete that rainbow set.
Mhm.
How are you going to feel about it in 10 years? Because when we were talking earlier, when you look back on the nostalgia of your set of the stuff you kept, like your Cordell Stewarts, Tony, you look back and you're like, I didn't invest that much into them, but I'm happy I have them. I feel like there's going to be a lot of guys who put money into certain things, and in 10 years they're going to look back and say, man, I am so underwater, I'm drowning. Like, and you're not going to have that nostalgic fun feeling. You're going to think, bro, I just lost a ton of money doing this. Like, what? Like, this wasn't fun. You know what I mean? If it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, why would you keep, participating in it?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about like Cordell Stewart, like you said, Mike. What if you go after the rainbow Trevor Lawrence and 10 years down the road, like he has an Andrew Luck situation?
Right.
You're gonna be like, what was I doing?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's I am fortunate in a way that I'm not a big collector of any of the current superstar guys. I'm not, because I just look at them different the way I look at the older players from when I grew up, collecting. I just see them very different. I see athletes very different now than I did back then. They
entitled.
Yeah, they may be the same, like what I'm saying, and maybe some of them are, but I just didn't see them that way when I was a younger kid than I am now as an older adult.
Right.
From that standpoint, But I just think overall, you're right. I don't know how you take one of these young guys and try and forget even the rainbow, just trying to collect a bunch of their stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, like we were talking earlier, it's flawless, immaculate. I mean, you pull a Joe Burrow rookie patch auto. I mean, that's a ton of money sitting there for one freaking card. And everybody, like you were talking about, the things that Raul does, and that Dan the Man does, Cardman does, the things that you do of pointing out all these things, everything, sports card radar, and everybody looks at them and be like, oh, what a bunch of credit, oh, all they're trying to do. But they're just showing pure numbers. Look at what some of the things were. There's these cards that went for $500,000 a year and a half ago that are going for friggin' less than half of that now.
It's insane. It's
that hurts.
But you know what? If we talk about this, we're considered negative. And it's like, how is bringing up actual metrics negative? And it's like, why would somebody warning people in this space where it's like, hey, instead of watching certain content that's going to tell you just buy, just do it, just spend the money, versus somebody who's going to give you a genuine perspective and say, hey, I'm not telling you what to do, but like, here's the risk reward. And like, here's the actual data to show you. And we're even seeing it with great, like, Tony, you're a Cavs guy.
Yeah.
LeBron James cards have come in crashing down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, I mean, if LeBron James is losing value, and I'm not even a LeBron James guy, but like, if he's losing value, what's that say about? I'm a Kevin Durant guy.
And you think about it, and he just took over the scoring lead, and his cards are not going the right. You would think his cards would go this way. They're not. They're going that way, and he just became the all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because they just bake all the success in. Like, luckily, LeBron actually lived up to what his hype was supposed to be. Could you imagine if, like, he was supposed to be the chosen one and he just was okay?
Yeah,
he'd be like way down.
And like, I don't think we've seen anybody quite like LeBron, where it was like we all saw it and we were like, okay, this is different. Like, there's not many guys that you could even compare to LeBron in that aspect. But like, just to throw a name out there, I'm not crapping on him, but look at a Greg Oden, consensus number one. Like, but the benefit of back then is, like, when you got a nice rookie of Greg Oden, it was probably $50.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you get a nice LaMelo Ball, you got guys who are like 5 to 10K into it.
Wembanyama.
Like, dude, listen, again, I'm not trying to sound like this negative Nancy. I just don't see it. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's like. I don't get this pump, this hype with him. I think he's an extremely skilled, tall guy, and I'm not taking that away from him, but like, come on, like, the guy's built like a toothpick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, like you talk about, look at baseball, right? Drew Jones, his 1 of 1, they put a bounty of $250,000 on it, and the guy's hitting like 220 in single A ball.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, if you pull that card and you were not, I mean, you had to sell that. I'm glad that people did. Because you had to go ahead and you had to go ahead and say, here you go. Thank you very much. I just want to walk away.
Yeah.
Because maybe it goes up, but more than likely it won't.
Amen.
Not starting at that price.
And that's what we were talking about. Like, it's almost what the hobbies become, is this gamble to get into these breaks or get into these boxes so you can hit the big pool, and then you sell it off as soon as you can so that somebody else is stuck with the bag.
Yeah.
And it's only going to depreciate as it makes its rounds. So it's like you said, hit it, get it, flip it. Because that you're at a race until, like you said, until he starts playing, he's batting 220.
Yeah.
It's like,
imagine Drew Jones ends up as good as his dad. You've already overpaid for his card.
And what's crazy is, if he has a career like his dad, there's no shame in that.
Yeah, no, there really is
a career. But like you're saying, this hype cycle that goes in, like, if Wembanyama has a career, let's say, like, who's somebody we could compare him to? Let's say he has a career like, let's throw out DeMarcus Cousins, perennial All-Star, had a successful career. He's not an all-timer, but he was certainly a factor when he was in the league.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to feel having this Wembanyama card? I mean, I just like. And then you're going to look 5-10 years from then, and you're going to think, I can't believe that these prices were at that, and it was based off just hype in this gambling mindset.
Yeah.
And
that's what I say. If I bought any of these cards, if you were fortunate enough to figure out, to get what you'd be, and I'm sorry, unless you are a extremely wealthy person, if you're the normal guy and you get one of these cards and somebody's going to offer you 40,000, 50,000 or more, you'd be stupid not to take it.
Amen.
Because the chances are, in a year, you're going to be going, oh crap, now what am I going to sell it for?
Yeah.
When you have your chance. That is how these influencers and these big companies have ruined the hobby.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you would have never sold that card.
Mm-hmm.
You would have kept that card. You would have said, "Man, this is unbelievable. I can't believe I got this." Now the mindset is, if I get it, it's going.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Raul just put, no one wants Zion now. That stripper baby mama does, but other than her,
That's what I just put in the chat.
other than her, nobody wants Zion. I don't even think New Orleans wants Zion right now. And look at his hype. Like, he's another guy. Like, I don't know if the hype was LeBron-esque. I got in a discussion with a group of buddies of mine, and like they were talking about Wembanyama having the most hype since LeBron. And I thought back, and I thought, I think Zion was up there. I mean, when you have Jay-Z going to your college games, you know what I mean? Like, there's something different about. And Zion, we're looking at, I mean, the guy can't even make weight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to make. Like, what do you do? I mean, there's guys who have Zion cards that are probably like, where's the trajectory? He hasn't shown anything as far as like longevity wise, like, oh, this will work out for me.
True.
And it's sad because, and then the thing is, Zion was one of those guys who like was right around the time when all these young guys got in and kids. You know how many kids probably got their money involved in Zion and now they're just stuck? I mean, I kind of feel bad, but see, that's what people get mad at like Dan and Raul for. And it's like, they're just giving you the like, yo, this is the negative consequence that could happen. Like, beware of this. And it's deemed negative, and like people throw shots at them.
Numbers don't lie.
Amen.
Yeah.
Period. The end.
Amen.
You know, and I'll tell you, honestly, part of me wants to wonder if Zion going to New Orleans was part of the issue. That if he would have gone to an LA, a Chicago, a New York, a Miami, a different franchise, I wonder, you know, because I almost wonder if he's doing some of the things he's doing because he doesn't want to go ahead and be there.
You know what I wonder?
And maybe it's
for
his way of trying to get out.
That market and franchise is what you're saying. Like, he should be somewhere else. Like and see, you know what's crazy is, and I agree with you, but what's crazy is an 18-year-old kid who's given that amount of money thinks he's bigger than any franchise that was willing to draft him. And see, this is where I've always said this. AAU has ruined basketball in America. And you can go through the top 10 players in the NBA right now. Not many Americans. And like this AAU, like pampered, entitled, transfer to this academy. Go play with your buddies here. And I think that's what's contributed to a mindset of someone like Zion where he's in New Orleans like, I'm better than this. And it's like, right, dude, you're 19. You're not better than anything. Like, you got to go prove it. And I'm not even a LeBron guy. LeBron went to the Cavs. The Cavs were like this struggling franchise that had no hope, and then LeBron blossomed. And LeBron did what he was hyped up to be. And like, I might not, like him like that, but I can't even deny that LeBron wasn't like, he didn't act bigger than Cleveland. He gave them 8-9 years. They were a perennial playoff team, took them to a finals. Like, he took them from bottom and raised that franchise up. Like, Zion's like so entitled, he can't even stay on a diet.
Right.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it's because I'm older now. I'm in my 30s, but I look at these young guys getting drafted, and I think, who the hell do you think you are? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
I think what Zion really needs to be successful, I watched an interview with Charles Barkley, and earlier on in his career, I can't remember who he said the veteran was, but like, he was fat, he was out of shape, same type of situation, and he had a veteran basically get on his ass and like really motivate him. Like, if Zion had like a Jimmy Butler type person that's like literally not going to take trash and like really get his teammates, I feel like that would like do a big part in like kind of helping him get through his career. But I mean, unless he gets like some kind of self-motivation or the right coaching staff or the right leadership around him, like as far as other players, like I worry for what his longevity is going to be like, because he has a lot easier chance being Greg Oden than he does Kevin Durant at this point. I
agree. And I would also agree the kid is super talented, But at some
Yeah.
point, it's like talent doesn't matter if you can't make weight. And it's like if you can't even be motivated, like they showed you they value you. They gave you the extension. What are you doing with it? Hire a chef, hire a dietitian. I'm
Yeah.
sure those organizations and franchises will provide you with a lot of that type of stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we can't,
There's nothing you
it's
can't. I mean,
sad. It's an entitled generation and mindset. And we're
Yeah.
giving this money, this crazy amount of money to these guys who aren't even 25 years old, and they've accomplished and done nothing to deserve it.
Mhm.
you give them the keys to the kingdom, and you expect them to basically, have enough sense to do right a lot more than they do wrong, but with no responsibility for when they do wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All this time when you were talking about AAU basketball, right? Oh, my son wasn't getting playing time here. So we're going to pick up the family and
Yep.
we're going to move to Nebraska because there's an AAU team that he could play on and he'll be the star there. Oh, my son's not starting now in Nebraska? Okay, let's pack up the family there, Jed Clampett, and we're going to move someplace else. I mean, that's what the mentality is.
Yeah.
I saw it right here. I'm in, I live in Georgia, Marietta, Georgia. And quick story. So one
You can
day,
tell by the accent, probably.
yeah. So my daughters played fast pitch softball. And there was a guy, he had, one of those names where, his last name was Jushaw. So it's not like there's a lot of friggin' people with that last name. He was always on the west side of the county. And all of a sudden one day I see him playing at the ballpark right by our house. And I'm like, what are you doing traveling all the way over here to play ball? It makes no sense. He said, my daughter wasn't getting enough playing time at the high school she was at over there. So we sold the house and moved 15 miles so that she could play here. High school fast pitch softball. That's and then we wonder why people do some of the things that they do. You're right. SP 123. There's Kobe's and LeBron's aren't. They're not a lot of those out there.
Yeah. And I would say like that it's the mindset. It's not even the athlete, because we're seeing phenomenal athletes. It's the mindset and mentality that those guys have.
Yep.
That this generation these younger guys they're lacking it. It's crazy, and it's like they're getting more money than ever. They're getting more endorsements than ever. They're getting more publicity than ever. Like, what is going to motivate you to be that dog? We used to call them when I was young. We called, you had that grittiness, that dog in you. And it's like you're watching more poodles than pit bulls, and it's making me sick.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Glenn? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Glenn.
Appreciate you being here.
No, it is. Yeah. It's different. I mean, I agree. And
you make a good point of up and moving, and I think it's kids see this, and like, let's just take like the NBA. Like, you're seeing these super teams now. Like, I'm a KD guy, and even I can admit, like, I get why people don't like Kevin Durant. When he went to Golden State, he ruffled a lot of feathers. A lot of people did not like that. I can understand that. You know what I mean? Even as a collector, KD, he's, I enjoy his game, but like, I can understand, and I can see how it's trickled effect into like, this is how kids see things. And then who do they look up to? Like LeBron, who goes to Miami, or Kevin Durant, who goes to Golden State. Like, they see this and they think, well, like you said, I'm moving the family. I'm going to the next AAU team. I'm not, valued here. And it got away from like, go through the trials and tribulations, earn your playing time, earn the championship, go through the lumps. And that used to be like a badge of honor, and now it's like, now we'll take the easy way. And like, since we're talking about Zion, like, it's easier to go to the buffet and eat 5 plates instead of being like, hey, I'm going to stay disciplined to this because I need to get my ass in gear here in New Orleans, But I agree. I don't think he wants to be there.
So what do you think the perception of Dame Lillard is going to be with all that's going on with him now?
My gut opinion is It kind of all depends on where he goes. I know everybody's saying if he goes to Miami. I almost feel like he's given Portland, what, 10 years? 10 years?
Something like that. I think his rookie was, what was it,
2012?
2012?
I think
Yeah.
so. I think
Yeah.
2011, 2012, I think. He's given Portland enough time that I think where like they realize, listen, we got this guy. We need to do some things around him. I almost feel like Dame's in that situation LeBron was in Cleveland. Like, I'm not saying he's LeBron, but it's very similar where it's like, he's the guy. He's our guy. What can we do to build around him and bring in around him to maintain and, like, give him a chance at a title? And I think Dame has given all he can to Portland from his – like, I don't look at Dame as like a Zion. Dame has went through, playoff runs. He's taken, punches on the chin, ups and downs. He's built his name there. He's given them the time. I look at him leaving now, given that, let's be honest, they're not any closer to having a championship roster.
Correct.
Yep.
That one's tough. I would respect him more if he stayed, but I don't look at him as like this entitled championship chasing prima donna, if you will.
See, yeah, so I agree. That because to me, like you said, because of the longevity that he had there, I think people will look at that point, and say the same type of thing. Now, I think maybe where he could get in a little bit, have some of the shine get knocked off if he comes out and says, "I will only go here. I don't care what you do, but I will only go here." If he takes that type of a stance, I think that could take some of the shine off of him. But otherwise, I agree. I think when you look at what he has done, what he has given to that city, he has put that team on his back more than a lot of other players across the board have, and tried to do everything he could, but has, unfortunately,
and it's
not
a
been able to
unique
do it.
situation because I think I used the LeBron comparison because let's be honest, I know LeBron was like a once in a lifetime type player, but nobody wanted to go play in Cleveland. Like that's not a destination other free agents and other guys want to go to. I think Portland's a lot like that too. So it's a very difficult situation. But I would agree, like I feel like there's always context to these type of things. I know he wants to go to Miami and like that's where he's dead set on going. And I think that isn't the best look. I can understand why he'd want to go to Miami, but I don't think that's the best look. I almost see like if he were to like say I'm holding out because I want to go to the Lakers. Like that would ruin that would almost be like, dude, you're chasing. You know what I mean? That's not a good look. Like everything you stood for in Portland, you're almost like washing it away by doing this holdout for like. And I guess you could say he's somewhat doing that with Miami because they just went to a finals. I don't think it's the best look, but like I said, given his context of the longevity being in Portland, I don't look at him as like this this championship chasing prima donna, spoiled, entitled player. Where a lot of these guys have some of that when they make their moves or their trade requests.
Yeah.
And I say this as a KD fan. I say this as a KD fan. Like when he went to Golden State, I totally understand why people were like dogging him.
Yeah, of course.
At this point, though, in Dame's career, I don't think anybody could fault him for wanting to chase one because I feel like he's already, like you said, he's already done everything he could to try to bring one to Portland. Like to see a championship like come to a small market is very rare. You know what I mean? Like for example, like the Nuggets winning like that, even with Jokic, is like not anything that was predicted by anyone preseason. No. Maybe like a diehard Denver Nuggets fan, but outside of that, no one was like, "Yeah, the Denver Nuggets got it this year." I mean, but
let's pump it.
But for the most part, it's literally just like, man, it happened to be them versus the Heat, which are both technically like more smaller market type teams. You know what I mean? Right. But the odds are more likely that a Boston Celtics who've had like 17, or the Lakers who've had like 17, or however many they have, are these teams that are the big markets that are going to be given the big contracts, that are going to be like the more attractive places for people to live. Like, because honestly, part of the reason LeBron wanted to go to South Beach is because it was freaking South Beach. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a very difficult place to like want to spend the rest of your time. But I really think, like, even like as a Cavalier fan, like if LeBron James wasn't playing there wasn't any other people that were like, hey, let me take my talents to Cleveland. It was like, I want to go play with LeBron James, who's a generational talent. You know what I mean? That would be like saying, okay, I'm going to go now play with Tom Brady in Tampa or wherever, he would be playing, So like,
but why couldn't he? But why couldn't he do that? But why couldn't he do that when he was there?
Who's that, LeBron or
Dan? If you look at the way he was looked at, right? People were saying, GOAT right there. He's right up there, man. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Why could he still not get people to figure out a way to deal with Cleveland for during the basketball season?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have this conspiracy where I feel like Rich Paul and his camp is a very difficult. It's a very difficult situation where I'm not like placing all blame. Like, I do think to a degree, there's not a lot of guys who would have naturally wanted to go to Cleveland, but like you said, like, as amazing as a player LeBron is, like, nobody wanted to go to Cleveland and play with him at the time.
Yeah.
He had to go down to Wade County,
right,
and organize with Chris Bosh. Like, he's the one who had to leave. And if you think about it, when he went out to LA, like, there were guys who passed the buck. Like, Paul George signed with the Clippers. Kawhi signed with the Clippers. Like, they did not want to play with LeBron. And a couple of things, I don't know how true. It's like rumors had it, but like, KD's never wanted to play with LeBron. So I don't know. And I think maybe part of it too, to a degree, is like, if LeBron's touted as the best, I think there are guys cut from a cloth where it's like, I'd rather beat the best than join the best. So that could be part of it too. So it might not just be like this, me talking about his camp and Rich Paul. But if you think about it, like, Rich Paul, the only reason they got Anthony Davis is because Rich Paul is his agent as well. Yeah. And like, if you think about it, they organized that situation where LeBron sat out, they shipped off all the young guys out of LA, AD sat out in New Orleans, and they brought him in. It almost seemed real manipulated.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't know. And I wonder how some of these things, not only affect sports as a whole, but how they look, how they affect the hobby, how they affect collecting, how it is that, is it one of those things where, what, man, you use KD as an example, but, maybe, some people go, what, man, freaking that, I'll never collect another one of his cars, what he went ahead and did. He went and said, screw, I can't beat Golden State, so I'm just going to go there, and I'm going to go there and join them, and I'm going to win my titles, that way. And there are probably, people that look and go, you know what? That's awesome. I'm not going to go ahead and buy a KD card. Hell with that now.
And if you think about it, we're all sports fans. Like, that's the common interest. That's the theme that brings us into this hobby.
Yep.
And like, as sports fans, we're like living vicariously through our teams because we're competitive. And like, I can understand, as somebody that used to play sports, like, it's hard to say it was weird finding out he went there. Now I'll say this. I was happy because I like KD and I don't like LeBron. And him going to Golden State was pretty much putting a stamp. It was like, LeBron's not winning another one in Cleveland. So like, I have a very biased look upon it. But take my biases away, I can understand why the macro looks at it. It's like, man, that's a sellout move. Like, you were competing against this team, and then you sold out, joined them, and that's how you cemented your legacy. So, like, I get it.
And the bad part is now, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You look at it, I mean, they just did it.
And that big
Bradley
damn
Beal
toe in the Milwaukee series when he was playing in Brooklyn, because I'm sorry, I love KD, he's my guy. He was having one of the best individual series in playoff history in that Brooklyn Milwaukee series when Kyrie was hurt, Harden was just fat and like was no use. KD was killing them. He was going for like 45 a night. And if he would have kept his toe off the 3-point line and that would have been a three, he would have ended Milwaukee, and that would have been his chance post Golden State. Because maybe I'm biased. I feel like they would have went to the finals and they could have beat Phoenix that year instead of Giannis getting his first ring.
Yeah,
but his big damn toe, that still gives me nightmares.
I think it's just it's the way all this stuff is moving, and it's funny how it's basketball that does it. Football you see a little bit, but it's more after like guys get cut that they go and they say they try and join the big team to chase the ring and so on and so forth. You don't see it in baseball, but I think the reason why you don't see it in baseball is because it's more about money than it is about anything else. And there's only a certain number of teams that are going to be that got that big of a bag to go ahead and give out, and then there's hockey, and hockey's just, hockey. Huh?
I said, it's definitely not my Buccos.
No, but you think about it,
they even pay the number 1 pick, man. I saw they drafted that pitcher instead of the center fielder from LSU. Forgive me, I can't remember their names.
Skeens and Cruz. Skeens. Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz. Yeah. But now, the thing is, the baseball stuff is the same type of way, when you look at the value of cards and so on and so forth, you have, at least it seems as though at least some guys, when they make the major leagues, then you see something going on, with their cards. Some guys, yes, you have the hype guys, but then at least you will see these other guys whose cards, will go up in value and stuff. But, baseball's the same type of way. I mean, you look at the Mike Trout, look at Trout. I mean, look at where his cards were and where his cards are now. Same type of thing. Why? Hey, man, you get hurt, you don't play that much, boom. Cards are going to go ahead and affect that value, and it's crazy from that standpoint that, you can't make a super team in baseball. I mean, you can try. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Dodgers have tried. The Mets have tried. The Yankees did it back in the 70s, but you don't see it as much anymore. And it sucks for other teams. You look at, like you're saying, Pittsburgh. Key Brian Hayes was supposed to be the guy, man. It's that other thing. And you don't know, does he not care because I got my money and I play in Pittsburgh and nobody's coming to watching? So the hell with the motivation. It's like, I hope it's not that, because I would hope at some point in time your personal pride kicks in. It says, I need to be better than what I am.
Yeah.
You think Mike Trout is like affected with the idea, like the Angels just aren't making the playoffs too? Like, I know these World Series aren't like the metric maker in baseball like Super Bowls are in football for quarterbacks, or finals or championships in the NBA. But like, I almost feel like Trout, and it's not his fault because baseball is one of those unique things. Like, you're 1 of 9.
Right.
Depending on who's pitching that day, like, you really don't have, I mean, other than your 3 to 5 at bats, you don't have that much influence on the game. But I feel like the fact that like the Angels just can't get it together, like that's kind of affecting him too. Like, we're not seeing him have any moments at all in the postseason, like at all.
Well, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking in my head, like, guys, like, I know Griffey never won one. I know Bonds never won one. Like, those guys never won World Series, but like, there were times they at least made the playoffs. They were on like, teams that were consistently competing for them, at least, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know. That's never really been the case with the Angels and Trout.
No, and it's it's weird, and I don't know if it's because they're the little brother, from that standpoint. It's hard to say anything about. It's hard to say anything about him because when you look at his individual numbers, at least he's showing that he is earning the money he's getting paid. I mean, the guy is still going ahead and putting up, big numbers and everything. You know, maybe he's one of maybe he's a guy who doesn't. He's not concerned about winning a world championship. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I would think you play, like Herm would say, you play to win the game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like
That's a great quote.
I feel like-
so I would think that that's what he wants to do, but then again, I think from a standpoint of is he looks and they said, hey, they spent all their money on me and they don't want to spend anymore. So it
Yeah.
is what it is. I
That's
wonder, does
true.
he look at an Ohtani and, I don't know if he would ever demand a trade in public,
Right.
but if they go, look, we just can't, we're going to let him go. Does he somehow make it known, look, you guys got to try and move me because now this is ridiculous. I mean,
Right.
because the truth of the matter is Ohtani is more of a generational player than Mike Trout is. And
They got two generational guys, and like
Yeah.
they can't get this postseason run. They
Yeah.
can't even they're not even threatening. You know what I mean?
No.
It's wild.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Well, it's funny, Mark. Like I was wondering, to me, I think there's three things. I was wondering this: do they trade Ohtani? Do they sign Ohtani and try and trade Trout?
I think at this point, wow, boy, talk about a pickle. If you're their franchise and you have to move one, which one would you move? You'd almost have to keep Ohtani.
Yeah.
You
do?
What I found out, I didn't realize he's like 28, 29.
I didn't realize he was that old yet either.
Yeah, dude. I was talking about it in a group thread with a couple guys. I was like, no way. Like, yeah, I guess he's like 28, 29.
Well, because the Japanese league has it in their contracts, stuff like that. They can't be MLB eligible until they hit a certain age.
No shit or no.
Yeah,
shit.
they have it's either age or numbers in the league or something like that, and that's why you see a lot more of those guys. They don't come over as 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds. If they play in Japan, they play in the Japan league. Maybe some of the other ones that came in early, but they would not play in those leagues and everything. But you think about it, if they are going to sign him between two players, they'll have $1 billion of salary,
That's crazy to think in two guys.
Because Trout's over 400 million.
Yeah.
Ohtani's not signing unless he gives them a hometown discount.
Yeah, he's gonna want that.
He already knows that 600 million is his mark.
Yeah.
So if he gives them a break at
crazy to think
550
about.
million, they're still almost at $1 billion.
That's insane, dude. That's insane to think about.
But then to think how much money they're probably making to be able to pay that kind of money.
That's crazy to fathom.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, Ohtani's benchmark is going to be the highest contract we've ever seen when his day comes. I mean, I get it. So, and the way these markets work, like you never settle for less. I mean, and like you said, unless he wants to be generous and give a hometown discount, but
and why
with his talents and the things he's doing, I can understand why he wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, why would he if and it's that balance of the outlet. That's what makes it easier in football for the star athlete to not take as much, for Tom Brady to not take as much money, because he says, look, my team only has X number of dollars they could spend, and I want to win titles. That's all I want to do. I don't give a crap about nothing else. In baseball, they're like, hey, I don't have to give you a break because there is no salary cap. The only thing that stops player A from getting the same contract as me is you, the owner. It ain't me, the player. It ain't the player agreement that we have. It ain't that contract. It ain't nothing. It's just the owners not willing to go ahead and spend. That's the big difference.
That's right. Everybody else has that cap to deal with.
Yeah. Football has a cap. Hockey has a cap. Baseball hockey, football, basketball, those three, they have caps that you have to deal with. Baseball doesn't.
I almost feel like I almost feel like the NFL needs to do something with these quarterbacks based off, like they almost have to have a separate cap or something for quarterbacks right now, because I don't know how I don't know how they're going to afford rosters the way these NFL quarterback contracts keep going. Not to switch the flip the
No,
switch, but
it
like
makes sense though.
Nope, you're right.
I was listening to this guy talk about how like it's going to eventually come to a point where NFL quarterbacks are going to have their own separate cap. Or their own, I don't know how he explained it, but I mean he sounds way smarter than I do. I'm a dumbass, but the way he was talking about it, it made sense. I was like, dude, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you're not going to be able to fill out you're not going to be able to pay anybody other than a quarterback here soon because of the cap.
Yeah, and Burrow and Herbert are the next two.
Oh, bro. Burrow's going to be getting paid. And, like, again, I'd hate to see him. Like, I'm a Steelers fan. I don't, cheer for the Bengals. But, I'd hate to see him not stay with the Bengals all because of some I don't want to see him, go somewhere else. Like, they drafted him for a reason. He's their guy. Like, how's a market like Cincinnati going to be able to, because they're not a big market team.
No, definitely not.
You know what I mean? And, we're Steeler fans. We've seen it plenty of times with Steeler. When their payday comes up, there's the door. Go get it somewhere else. So, I'm not saying Cincinnati would do that with Burrow. They're going to pay him. I know they're going to pay him. But you have to think, man, we're getting to a point where a team like Cincinnati is going to be paying what would Burrow's I don't even know what the mark's at. I can't remember. The last I remember was Kyler Murray signed his deal, and I thought, holy shit, Kyler Murray. Imagine what Burrow's gonna. Because he's gonna set the benchmark.
Hurts got $50 million a year.
That's crazy, dude.
Jalen Hurts, who lost his job to Tua, had to go ahead and transfer to Oklahoma, and then gets drafted in the second round or third round by friggin' Philadelphia. And a few years later, he's making $50 million a year.
And no knock. I think Hurts deserves to get paid, but is he really worth 50? That roster is nice.
Bro,
that roster's nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not calling him Trey Lance.
Yeah.
But he's got a San Francisco type roster where they're just loaded. It's could you imagine someone like Trey Lance or Purdy getting $35 million a year? I can't even that doesn't even make sense to me. But Hurts, I'm not saying he's not worth getting paid, but it's man, we're setting markers for quarterbacks that it's Giddy had a good year, but let's remember a good year, singular.
Yeah.
You man,
if you look at when he came out, you look at that 1 or 2 year range and everything, and you put the quarterbacks in a row, and you have Herbert, and you have Burrow, and you have Lawrence, and you have some of these other guys, you look at Hurts going, yeah, I'm not picking you if I have a top 3 or 4 pick. Bro, ain't no way in hell.
Dude, if I could redraft it again, like I said, I agree. Nothing against Hurts. The he's a tough kid.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. He's shown progression since he's been drafted, which, some guys won't do that. They'll stick to what their bread and butter is, and they're just, they're not going to change. He's shown progression, which is a great thing. But at that same grace, it's is he a top 5 quarterback? $50 million a year? I'm sorry. I would never call him
he's top 5 in his class. That's
the sad part. Yeah, exactly.
Still got Burrow, Herbert, Tua, at least those 3 above him.
Yeah.
Granted, he's probably outperformed Tua.
Right.
And, he's probably right there with Herbert, but still, he still hasn't done as good as Burrow. Burrow's made it close to the Super Bowl.
But if you're drafting right now, I get he went to a Super Bowl. I get it. But if you're drafting right now, are you taking Hurts over Herbert?
Probably not.
I don't think I would either.
Nope.
And I admit, Herbert hasn't had a playoff moment or playoff win, but I think that has a lot to do with other things, not necessarily his fault. I think that coach for the Chargers, I've never seen a bigger slapdick get paid to make dumber decisions on 4th and 3rd down in my life. I don't know how he still has a job.
Hey, Big John, you're not wrong. He is a leader, and he's a good quarterback.
Yep.
So I mean, I guess look, the truth is, if you're a fan of Philadelphia, you don't give a rat's ass. You say, pay the man whatever it is. Look what he did. He led us to the Super Bowl. I get it. I understand that. No worries. But is being a leader and a good quarterback worth $50 million?
Yeah. And like that's going to put you in jeopardy of paying some of these guys in the next 3 years, 2 years. Like when their contract, like him taking that 50 mil is going to come at us. Like if they don't win now, you know what I mean? It's going to come eventually later down the road, whether it's 3 to 5 years, where it's like you're not going to be able to keep this roster around him.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the benefit of San Francisco right now. Maybe they can keep that roster together right now because they don't have a quarterback to pay.
Yeah. I mean, Purdy, and they got him, we got, 3 more years out of him. You can do what you got to do if you think he's good enough. I think, that's the one thing in football that is, that's odd and stuff. If it gets me a Super Bowl win, then yes. You're right. And that's what I mean. And that's a fan talking. And don't get me wrong. Hey, I'm the same way. I'm a Jets fan. We just traded for Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
I don't care how much you had to pay him to keep him. We're also able to. Why?
Yeah.
Because 3 of our best players are all on their rookie contracts. You could afford to do it. But the problem you have is if Rodgers was 3 or 4 years younger, it would be difficult if you want to pay him over 5 years. Then all of a sudden, you got these other guys coming up, and they're like, hey, where's my bag now? Where's my bag? I got to get mine. I
mean, think about it. They couldn't keep Devontae Adams with them.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to Oakland. Or Vegas, sorry. But yeah, I mean,
Big John.
When these quarterbacks get these contracts, it's like you only have a window. Like you only have a certain window because, like you said, and the Jets have the benefit of having their best players on rookie deals still. Like they got young talent. So in that, if Rodgers doesn't win this year or next year, it's like, what's going to give? You ain't going to re-sign Rodgers at that point, I don't think.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow all and probably have to break their leg and not be able to play for the Jets to go ahead and win. I mean, I don't know. The Jets had the benefit last year. What?
You really think
the Jets
so?
Understand though, the Jets had the benefit last year of their defense staying healthy.
True.
That is very difficult to do year after year in the NFL.
True.
So they would need their defense to stay healthy again, and then, and have him play. Now the sad part is he doesn't have to be MVP Aaron Rodgers. He has to be, like normal football player Aaron Rodgers, and they have a great shot.
Yeah.
But man,
that's true.
That's what makes it odd. Of how the hell does friggin' Kansas City keep doing what they're doing? Because Burrow was still going there. Herbert, a lot of these guys are still going there. And then, as you know, Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball every single which way and just flipping it out of his freaking hand and everything.
The AFC Championship against Buffalo was one of them. Like, I know it was 17 seconds, 13 seconds. The kick where they should have kicked. I mean, how do you what is it? Somebody was saying there's 3 things. You're going to die, you're going to pay taxes, and Patrick Mahomes will meet you in the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just happening. It's the dude's a stud. And you know what? I get how great Pat Mahomes is, but man, he's so blessed having Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, dude. There's not a quarterback that's been with Andy Reid that's ever gotten worse. They've only gotten better.
Yep.
Andy Reid is I'm not saying he's underrated, but man, now that he has a guy like Mahomes with that type of talent, I mean, you're just seeing the things that should have happened in Philly, I think, are now happening in Kansas City.
He finally won.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what the bottom line is. He finally went ahead and won, But I think, again, it's.
And they won without, and I know this might be a small thing to some people, but I think it's a lot bigger. he just won, and I get he still has Kelsey. They just lost Tyreek Hill. And they went out and just got it done again.
Yeah.
I mean, you
All they
took one
plugged
of
in
his
was Juju.
best. What's that?
All they plugged in was Juju. That's a major downgrade from the Cheetah.
Juju wasn't even like a fact. I mean, he was a factor. I'm sure he was on the field, but it's like he wasn't like, screw it, Tyreek down there somewhere. Like, he's not that guy anymore.
No, but you know what? You know what's going to suck? See, they're going to re-sign Chris Jones, and that contract is going to get them probably $10 to $12 million below the cap. And then they're going to make a call. They're going to call 1-800-D-HOP. And Andre Hopkins is going to freaking go, you know what? F it. I'll go for a ring, man. I'll take the $12 million for 1 year. Thank you very much. That's the kind of crap that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
He's gotten offers from the Patriots. He's gotten offers from the Titans.
Yeah.
He ain't signing for one. He ain't signing for a reason, and it ain't because he doesn't. He got to be signing, thinking, okay, I can go there. Can I win there?
If DeAndre can even be at like 75% of what he was, if Pat Mahomes has him, oh my gosh.
Yeah, game over.
That's a cheat code.
It sucks.
That's a cheat code.
He might be the best, and he's played with Tyreek Hill. That might be his best receiver that he's ever had in his career. Getting Hopkins, he's even close to what he was.
I know, man, and I think a lot of people forget how DeAndre was a bad man. He was stuck in Houston with some garbage quarterbacks putting up some. I don't know if you guys play fantasy or not.
Oh yeah, he's carried me to championship.
Oh, bro,
I love D-Hop.
His quarterbacks have sucked, and he's just put up crazy numbers.
Yep, doesn't even matter who's starting.
Kirk Cousins, like you're looking at easily the best foot receiver in football for probably a 3-year stretch.
Look what he was doing with friggin' Kyler Murray throwing to him.
I know, that's true. On half a season.
Right.
And Kyler Murray, he stinks. He is so bad. I can't watch him play. I can't watch the Cardinals because watching Kyler Murray is so boring and bland to me. I can't watch a guy just run around like that. When you see like certain guys move around, like it's like they're controlling the pocket or creating lanes. Kyler Murray's just like, I think he just plays too many video games, and he's like, I'm just going to do what I do on Madden.
Right. Going to run around in circles and just throw it at some point.
That's pretty much what he does. It's so hard to watch. It's so frustrating to watch.
The sad part about Kyler Murray is he's a talented player, but I personally don't think he's going to ever win a championship unless he has one of those situations where he goes to like a super team and can be like a Trent Dilfer type. But as good as he is, I just don't see him winning a championship.
I would totally agree. He's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, he was drafted high in baseball. He was like he was like the number 3 pick in the baseball draft, I think. Like, he's a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, what I was talking about earlier, like we were saying, Mike, like just run around in circles and screw it. I'm going to throw it down. Like, how sustainable is that for any playoff run? That's never going to last. I mean, you might win a playoff game, a first round, you know what I mean? Something like that. But you're never going to go on a playoff run having that type of quarterback play. It's just it's not sustainable. And he takes one wrong hit. He's a small dude.
The real talented quarterbacks, they're going to have to start to really look at the landscape, and some of them are really going to have to start making those decisions of, do I want my money? Or do I want titles?
Yeah.
Because I have a funny feeling that as it goes more and more, especially in the NFL, I don't know if you could have more. Now, don't get me wrong. Signing for $25 million is not like going to Burger King and flipping burgers for 15. I'm not comparing those two. You're still getting a crap ton of money. Right. But it's a big difference between $25 million and $50 million.
Yeah.
That a $50 million, $25 million, and then having $25 million to spread around to 3 other players, probably, that's a big deal in the NFL when you figure you need a full team. when you look at, we're talking before about baseball and you talk about football, it's like, baseball is the most individualized team sport.
Yep.
Because at some point in time, it's still me versus the pitcher. Ain't nobody else helping me, right? Football, you can't.
Yeah.
If everybody's not pointing in the same direction, your team doesn't do anything. You don't do well. You will not put up the numbers that you need to put up. So I think this is what's going to happen as these guys start to look and say, hey, what's more important to me?
It's
Is it
true.
getting my money or is it winning titles? Don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes seems to have both, but he also that contract, the way that's written and the years and all the other kind of stuff, and the way that cap hit is all strung out and everything, big difference.
Yeah. I think franchises are going to have to make these decisions because I know I was talking about having a separate cap for quarterbacks, but like it probably won't ever happen. But I think you're going to see franchises come to a place where you're going to have to see a Jalen Hurts because I agree he had a great season, but I feel like that was premature to give him $50 million a year. You know what I mean? I can't remember what Lamar's bag was. I can't remember how it's written up, but there's a reason they were skeptical for so long of giving him an extension because I really think it's going to come down to these franchises are going to realize like I think they're going to look at Kyler Murray, a contract like that, where they're going to say these guys can't beat teams from the pocket in a play. Like this is what wins in playoff games. This is what you have to make throws from the pocket. And I'm not diminishing any like Patrick Mahomes runs around. Josh Allen runs around crazy and makes some crazy throws. But I do feel like the way they'll age is they have that pocket presence where they'll be able to get into their early 30s and kill you from the pocket.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I feel like franchises are going to have to make this decision. It's like, are we going to prematurely give these guys 40, 50 mil a year when they're not proving these things from the pocket? Because that's ultimately what is going to that's what's going to make the quarterback worthwhile. At the end of the day, you can have all kinds of great athletic attributes. You can stretch the field, make 30-yard runs, crazy stuff that we didn't grow up watching that from quarterbacks. Mike Vick came onto the scene and we were all like, holy shit, like, what is this?
Absolutely. It's great.
I do think it's going to come down to a point where these franchises, like, let's even take Dak Prescott's contract when his day was due and he got paid. Like, is he a guy that would be able to win games from the pocket? And when it comes down to cold weather games, you're on the road, you're playing in late NFL season, you're going to have to be able to beat teams from the pocket. And that's why I guess what my question would be with Hurts. Now, I admit he's made progress.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the league, which is, kudos to him. Mm-hmm. But I still feel like, man, 50 mil a year, that's tough.
My fear with that 50 mil is, and nothing against Hurts specifically, but any quarterback. You tie up that kind of money, they have to then be worth that type of money, or else they've literally just handicapped your team for 5-10 years to try to make up like actually being competitive during that time frame. Like he could very well be worth it, but you could be potentially way overpaying and you can't really compensate anywhere else for that because to bring in another competent quarterback, it's going to cost pretty close to that type of money. So,
I agree with you. And I think a fair point to bring up would be like, I think that's why Baltimore was so hesitant with Lamar this offseason with that extension, because if we're talking 2019, we're saying pay him. But like, since we've seen post the MVP season, it's like, have we seen progression? Have we seen better pocket presence? Have we seen the arm talent come? Like, I don't know. I can understand they were almost like, who else are you going to get? That's why they brought him. That's why they signed him. But at the same time, it's like, I agree with you. Are we going to pay this flash in the pan, very small metric of success versus this is something like Mahomes? I can understand why he's going to get paid. I can understand why he got his bag. Like, he's showing things that it's like, this is going to translate for the next 10 years. Like, these things are just, it's under his arm ability is it's undeniable. I'm not saying I would give him 50 mil a year. It's going to inevitably happen. probably more. But Burrow is showing from the pocket. He is taking hit after hit. He's winning games from the pocket. He's doing things that you can say, I can see at 30, 33 years old, he can still do this, And I like Hurts. Tough kid. But I almost feel like that 50 mil was premature. I feel like they're paying a flash in the pan season rather than is this a long-term sustainable thing? Because let's be honest, they don't win right now, and that contract's going to take effect to that roster, and they're not going to be able to be paying other guys.
And I think you have to look at it. It's the cap hit. I think we have to look at it like it's the cap hit that occurs. Like, so for instance, this coming football season, Patrick Mahomes, it's friggin' it's funny. I guess the way it's broken down is his cap hit is going to be $39 million this year.
That's
right?
insane.
That is insane. So when he is 32, his cap hit would be 62 million, right? But if you go to Lamar Jackson in 2027, actually in 2026, Lamar Jackson's cap hit $74 million.
Damn.
That's insane.
That is the freaking cap. Now, obviously, they're going to rework that deal in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But his cap hit is $74 million.
That's insane. And then nothing against Lamar. Like Lamar's. I mean, I'm not a Ravens guy. I'm a Steelers guy, so I don't. I'm never cheering for Lamar like that. I do enjoy him. When he came out of Louisville, when he came on the scene in Baltimore, as much as I don't like Baltimore, he was fun to watch. But has it gotten better? Is he worth that long-term investment? I don't know. And to think of him taking up 70 mil of your cap, like it's like, man, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But then you could argue, like, what else are you going to do? Are you going to draft another guy? You could, but
John has a good question here. He says Lamar or Herbert. I'd probably go Herbie just upside alone, but then again, like I can't look past the purple with Lamar because I am a Steelers fan, so I automatically hate him because he's a Raven. So, you could have basically asked me anybody else. It could be like Lamar or like Will Greer. I'd probably pick Will Greer just because he's not a Raven.
Yep.
Unless he's somebody that is now a Raven, then
I don't. My issue that I have with that one is where that's a tough choice for me is more because of their styles are so different from each other.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a little hard, like because like if you like the big arm, man, not that Lamar is a little guy, right? But when you think of Lamar, you think of Herbert. I don't know, Herbert just. When you think of him, you just think of this big man, 6'5", and chucking the ball and everything, So I think if you like that type of football, you're going to lean towards Herbie. If you like the quarterback scrambling and the running, then you're going to lean more towards Lamar. Now, if you said Herbert or Burrow, to me, that's more.
Yeah, that's a better
way
comparison.
the guys play, and
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time with that one. I may take Burrow more because I think from hearing him talk, his attitude of wanting to be the guy.
I would take Herbert over Lamar because of the things you were saying, and it's not that Lamar doesn't have a strong arm and that he's not a good quarterback, but I like what Herbert brings. As far as like you said, he offers more from the dude he throws for 4,000 yards like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's and I understand the postseason success hasn't been there. I think a lot of that has to do with coaching, to be honest. Some of the things that coach, their coach, I don't understand how he has a job still. But Something just popped up.
Lamar, honestly, like Dave says, he's not a QB, he's a running back. He honestly reminds me of like what Cordell Stewart would be in the modern NFL.
Yeah.
You know, like if Cordell was actually able to just be what he was,
Yeah.
like as opposed to, hey, we're going to put him here and he doesn't really fit here. We're going to do this. And the Steelers never really gave him a chance to just be like, go do your damn thing, Cordell. You know what I mean? Like,
but again, Cowher was very demanding, but to be honest with you, as soon as he got Ben, you saw the success right away.
Yeah.
You know,
so I actually do like Lamar's game just for the fact that I am a Cordell guy, but again, Ravens like
dude, when Lamar's on his A game, he's one of the 3 most entertaining quarterbacks to watch. And I don't like the Ravens, but I have to admit, when he's on his A game and that offense is clicking and he's got lanes and he's hitting the intermediate, he's on that day, he's effective. But I agree. The way I've premised this cap thing and like the longevity, everything I've talked about paying quarterbacks, I would pay. I guess how I would say, I would pay Herbert. I would feel more comfortable paying Herbert, thinking he can play this way longer than Lamar possibly could. And I would agree with you, Mike. If I had to, if we're using the Burrow-Herbert comparison, I took flack for this all of 2021, and I said Burrow has a Brady-like savvy.
Yep.
And I don't think Herbert has a bad attitude, but it's more so I like I like what Burrow brings to the table.
Yeah.
He will stand in the pocket and he will take the hit and make the throw. And I know you can get hurt that way, but I mean, he's Joe Cool, or he's just Joe Cool, man. He's got a savvy to him, and I'm not calling him Brady. I mean, nobody's Brady, but he's got that demeanor to him that I got to be honest. It's like not many quarterbacks have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that, you know, you can always win a game with too. Like that's what I loved about Big Ben. Like regardless of whatever, like when he was in the game, I always said there's a chance. Like I always like deep down felt like, hey, there's a chance we can win this thing.
I got a pump. I got a
nice.
pump. Hey, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
I love Big Ben, man. It's one of my favorite players of all time. I don't know if you've seen, he has a podcast now too.
Yeah, man, it's pretty good. I watched the one where he had Tomlin on, dude, and they were talking about their defenses during the and bro, that took me back. That got me all fired up and emotional.
Yep. I love Big Ben, man.
I can hear Renegade playing in my head.
Yep. Yeah, which I guess TJ Watt came out and said that the defense actually hates when that plays because that like puts them to the point where like everybody in the stadium is expecting a turnover now. So it like puts so much added pressure on them.
Don't blame the fans. Blame Polamalu, James Harrison, Casey Hampton. Blame those guys. Kiesel. Blame those guys, man. Oh, those were the best times, man.
So a little fun fact about Herbert. 2 years ago, Anthony and I were at the Nationals when his 1/1 NFL Shield card was pulled at the Nationals in in the group break area.
Oh boy,
man, it was friggin' nuts. No, that card immediately was like a $400,000 card or a $5. I mean, the price that they were talking about for that card was just ridiculous.
Now, I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier, off camera or off air, or off live, whatever, but you have to think of a card getting hit like that. Everything we've seen in the last year and a half, 2 years, you have to think of a card getting pulled like that at that event, depending on the breaker. Was that loaded?
Yeah. I would say 2 years ago, I would say no. If that shit happens in 2 weeks when I'm at the Nationals, hell yeah.
Mike, my man.
No freaking doubt. If a big card is pulled at National, there is no way in hell that is not set up that way.
Yep. And you know what? People get mad at someone like me or like Dan the Cardman or AIH. They'll get mad at someone like that for asking the questions. But here's what I would say. You need to get mad at these companies because they're the ones making it. They're throwing it in our faces, making it so obvious.
Yeah.
Where it seems like these athletes are pulling their own autos on cameras. The certain breakers are pulling. It's not that they're pulling 1/1s or logo mans. They're pulling the best one of the set. Yeah. And that's where it's like you get mad at people for asking the questions, but it's like, be mad at these companies. Be mad at Michael Rubin with a soccer player pulling the, like, arguably one of the 3 biggest chase cards in that product on camera. Like, we all know, like, that was 100% marketing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, like, as the company, why would you not want to do that to make sure that you actually get something that was worth them opening, and people are like, oh crap, I should open that because now I can go get a Cade Cunningham logo man or whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? Like, but the truth of the matter is, like, when a regular person like you, me, Michael, whomever goes get these boxes expecting to get that like crazy hit, it's most of the time we're not getting cards anywhere near that quality.
It's just,
but what is that? But what is that?
Kind of like a giveaway, in my opinion.
Yeah, but what does it do overall for the value of that product that is unopened? Right? When all the big hits are coming out so early.
Yep.
Or do they care? Do they say, hey, guess what? We release it, people buy a shit ton of it. We don't care what happens after it. We don't care because guess what? We've made our bank, man. We're good to go. Whatever it sells for, it sells for. But you would think that, return on investment wise,
keep that under, you'd want to keep that because you can keep the price value of these boxes and you can keep the hunt still alive. People will continue to buy for the chase.
Yeah.
But see, I don't know. You could argue this is a marketing thing, which I would probably assume is what's going on. But then I would agree. You're like, well, then you'd have to think, I guess I'm looking at it this way. These companies, like Panini especially, like right now, like they're keeping the printers on.
Oh, yeah.
And like 100%. At this point, like you said, Mike, like they're making their money either way.
Yep.
The good point about that is if they're making their money either way, like I'm wondering how much of this stuff is already tied up in allocation to where like shop A, B, and C are on the hook to buy that product regardless of, oh crap, there's already been the LeBron triple logo man pulled, but I'm already on the hook for like 3 more cases of this flawless stuff that now is going to be hard to sell because everybody's not chasing the logo man anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering if the way they have their allocation structured with most of these places, they could care less if the stuff's pulled because they're already guaranteed X amount of sales from a lot of the distributors and the shops. At least that's what I would guess that they're kind of doing to kind of hedge their bets, like as the actual company printing the stuff.
Yeah, but like I said, like I can understand, if you're gonna have certain boxes go certain places, I get it. But you would think to keep the hype going, what good is it if the guys who hang out, in their backyard and they, and they're pulling all the friggin' big ass hits in the first 2 weeks that the product is offered. Me as a normal consumer, right? And let's say I'm the gambler, right? We talked about it earlier. I'm the gambler and I get in breaks. Why am I going to continue to buy into breaks when the big hits are gone?
Yeah. And
why am I going to fork over $2,000 for a spot in a break when I know the big hits are gone?
And at this point, me as the consumer, also to piggyback off what you're saying, not only are the big hits gone, they're going to the same elite group of people.
Exactly.
And it's like, now you look at it, but see, I think this is why the investors' gambling aspect has been pumped so much, is because it's almost become an addiction. You're just going to keep buying. You're going to keep, because we know we were young. You buy pack, you wanted to buy another one as soon as you were done.
Right.
You want to just keep open. Oh, I opened my box. That was great. The endorphin's gone. Now I'm on to the next one.
Yep.
So maybe it has to do with it's like we already got this group of people hooked, and they're just going to keep buying because they're going to keep looking for, maybe the next big hit, maybe the third biggest hit, maybe this. I don't know, but I agree. That's a good point. You would think from a marketing, like that's why I don't think it's good marketing. I think it's only going to last so long. Like over time, you think people would kind of smarten up a little bit. And they're like, listen, I'm not backyards breaks. I'm not getting the triple logo, man. Like that's already allocated to somebody, I don't have a whatnot that has X amount of followers. Like I'm not worthy of this Panini ain't going to give it to me.
Paulie,
it's what I thought it was, Paul.
Juicy honey.
Yeah, so Paul actually had a good question here for us. Outside of sports cards, is there any other cards you guys collect? I'll kind of kick it off. Like, depending on if you consider wrestling a sport or not, I love collecting wrestling cards. Marvel cards, I really like to collect. Iron Man's my favorite character, so like I try to keep a small PC of Iron Man cards. And then Leaf Pop Century is like one of my favorite sets too.
Mhm.
Like I have like some relics of like the Rock's jeans and
Not
like
Kim
autographs of Ray
Kardashian?
Liotta. I don't have a Kardashian one, but her auto is worth like multiple $1,000s.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's a card that I seriously wonder what that's going to be worth like 5 to 10 years from now, or even like 20 years from now. Are people going to still care about the Kardashians?
Man, I don't know. That's a weird one for me. I'm not a Kardashian guy, so for me, I don't see the long-term value in it. But I can understand from a pop culture aspect.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so. Like, it's not for me, but I could understand why it's coveted. But
It brings a different segment of people into the collecting, aspect of
Yeah.
it.
To
I mean,
me-
but again, is somebody buying that as a collectible or as an, for lack of better words, I mean, can't be a real word, or an investable.
Yeah. But you know what? To me, that's a better blueprint of marketing. Like, bring some ingenuity to this. Do something new and different to bring people in. Don't do this loaded boxes by the elites. Like, I just don't think that's a sustainable marketing blueprint. I think coming up with new creative ideas, like you said, to bring different collectors into the space, that would make more sense to me. And I wouldn't, it might not be my cup of tea, but like, I'm not hating on it. Like, somebody wants to have a Kim Kardashian autograph, go for it. If it brings more people in naturally, then yeah, that seems cool. But like, this whole marketing thing with these loaded boxes, I think it's just a bad look.
Well,
I think it'd be better marketing if they just loaded them all. Because honestly, does it cost any more to put a Cade Cunningham card in there over like a Dayron Sharp?
True.
Right. That's what I'm saying. What is going to bring somebody back to their LCS or a Walmart or a Target or a pick store name?
Yep.
Then if there was a chance that you could get a good card out of a normal box that the normal person can buy.
Yeah.
Not the, hey, I just bought this, football card box. It's one pack with 6 cards and it's $1,600.
Yeah.
And guess what? When I open it up, I'm going to get $40 in value.
Yeah, bro. So many people are getting crushed, man.
It's rough. Yeah.
I mean,
remember
that's the crazy part. Even at that price, you should be able to put a good hit. Not saying that every box you get your $1,600 value back, but for crying out loud, there should be something worth at least $400 or $500 in every single friggin' box. Not this one. You see these guys open it up, and the biggest card they get is a $45 card.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
It's sad too.
Those Disney sets that came in, those were crazy.
I've been picking up a lot of Disney stuff lately because I've been watching Raul with the through the mails, and like whenever I go to California, my girlfriend lives in Cali, so we normally go to like the Universals and the Disneylands. I'm thinking, damn man, I'll just go there. I'll get all the character signatures, send them off to PSA, and have like a nice little collection of signed cards.
I like what he does. He's got a fun way to collect. It's different. And that's what makes this hobby great is like, man, you can find, it might not be my lane, but like I've talked to him about it before. It was like, you have a way of collecting and it's like, it's not for everybody, but like I said, it's inspired you to do something, you know what I mean? And like other people can look and say, hey, that's a good idea. I'm just going to send stuff in, get my personalized autos and go that way instead of buying into these breaks and hoping I get,
Yeah.
What's up, Chad? Good to see you, brother.
So over there, Paulie, they are breaking the Disney boxes. Wow, that's interesting.
Oh,
Now
man.
I heard those, but I heard the other thing was people were saying, another thing we talk about just pure the way they are. They were saying that don't buy packs of those. If you see packs of those online, don't buy packs because the way they had the boxes set up, the hits were in a certain pack. And
Yeah.
once people figured it out, they just went, took that pack out and said, "Hey, I'll sell you these other packs." And you think you could go ahead and and do something and get something, but you had no shot because the good packs were already taken out.
Yeah.
Was this the game that Britt Baker was a part of, Chad? I noticed that there was I can't remember. I think Cam Hayward might have been involved in it as well. Is that the same one? Because I remember seeing something about that, and I was like, "Wow, that seems really cool."
Wild thing. That's a nice little ballpark they have there.
Yeah,
I used to go up to games every once in a while. It's been years for me, but
I was actually when I used to wrestle. One of the guys I wrestled with was actually the mustard that like runs around like the pierogi races that they have condiments at the Wild thing. So he was the guy that played the mustard and ran every time. So it was pretty cool.
Imagine running in one of those suits.
Yeah,
that would suck.
I always used to make a joke.
Hey, John from Chasing Majors, how you doing?
Hey, John, thanks for being here, brother. I used to always make a joke with him when we'd wrestle if he'd ever have to like get busted open. Be like, is that considered cutting the mustard? Because that's what he did for like actual work.
Man, that is bad.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I tell you, like, but I just, the whole the whole box thing. You're right, and like I said, Dan, Raul, those guys, like I said, the funny thing is it's like you had mentioned earlier, Steve, how people get so mad at them, yet all they're doing is showing like odds and numbers like right then and there. It's not like they're not making the stuff up.
No.
They're just saying, hey, how could these one group of people consistently go ahead and get all the product hits?
Yeah.
Logic would just tell you that it should not happen.
I know it's like it's already forgotten about, but when you go through the list of insane cards that Backyard Breaks was getting, like to me, there was somebody who came up with a formula showing that the astronomical odds for them to be pulling the cards they were pulling. And like, I get it. They're a breaker. They're a big breaker. They get loads of product. I get it. You're bound to hit something. But what made me like really look into it and listening to their content, what made me really look at it was like, it's not that they're pulling logo mans. They're pulling the best logo man, and then the best one of one, and then the best gold kaboom rookie, and then when you really think, it's like, something's up here. Like, usually if you smell something fishy, like there's a dead fish.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's it's interesting. And then, a bunch of other stuff that, that Dan has been, showing on his with the, with the big hits, the redemptions not showing up, then all of a sudden they show up being slabbed and sold on eBay. And it's like, what the hell?
Have you been seeing his last week or two? These duplicate one-of-ones.
Yeah, it's insane.
What? Like Lamar Jackson, Shield 101, Saquon Barkley, Shield 101s. There's multiples of them.
Yeah.
I wonder if like we really would dig into this, how much more of that we would find.
Oh, dude. And see, I think that's why those guys get so much flack, is because I don't think the mainstream wants them digging.
No, they don't want to.
And the thing is, they're being sold already slabbed. So it's like these grading companies, they have to know. That's another good question. That's another good question. And it seems like it's just become routine and everybody just digests it and doesn't want to ask questions. And if you do, you're like, oh, how dare you? It's like, wait a minute. That's a fair question.
Nope.
I just saw Raul's comments. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't really followed too much of her breaks. I've met her a few times at whenever I used to live in California. Like, she sets up at a lot of the local shows there. She was super nice in person, but like as far as like what she hits, I'm not entirely sure. I don't keep up too much with like a lot of the breakers just because I'm not getting any of those hits. So
I know that's what's crazy. Like,
Right.
like you were saying, Mike, Joe Schmo who goes to the local store, like they're not pulling this stuff.
Right.
yeah,
And it's like when you see the same faces constantly being surrounded and it's always on camera, and I mean, a reasonable mind would ask that question and be like, wait, what's up here? You know, this is kind of shady.
I mean that might be true, but it's that's it just seems very odd, from that standpoint and everything. Like I wonder about the whole it's kind of funny how we haven't really, and again, I haven't seen a lot of content on it lately, so maybe it has been, you know, um, we haven't heard a lot about the break-in at Panini lately. That kind of went off for a little bit on the quiet side,
Yeah.
especially after they found out that they stole their thumb drives and their servers and all that other kind of crap. All of a
Yeah,
sudden,
dude.
shh.
Don't ask questions. You're negative.
that's insane.
I mean, so
You have to think the money that's been sunk into this hobby since 2020. People are realizing there's a lot of value here.
yeah, there definitely is. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy ass, stuff going on. Yeah, the guys who go ahead, and hide the hits and do all this other kind of stuff. Brandon Cooks to 99, and all this other kind of stuff that that you hear about and stuff. It's difficult because they make all the other breakers. It makes you wonder, right? Like you're it's at a point now where there truly cannot be any honest mistake made.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I mean, let's face it, like not everybody, but there might be a guy who not paying attention, and cards stick together, right? It might be, but that's an on. I mean, he's not, trying to do anything. But oh, hey, that card. Oh, wait. Oh, hey, sorry guys. When I pulled that one, the other one stayed with it. Here's what it was. Oh my god. Oh, it must have been a hit. So on and so forth. And it could have been nothing. It could have been that friggin', that offensive tackle, card.
Right.
But there's no one's gonna, because of all this other stuff. The honest mistake. You're a thief. You're a cheat.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. I mean, I get it sounds kind of like painting a bland brush, but it's like these influencers aren't helping their case.
No,
they
are not.
They're not helping their case, and that's where I feel like there's that necessity that Anthony and I were talking about in Washington. I was like, listen, there's a necessity for guys like Dan and Raul because you need that balance. People who are willing to say, hey, I have questions about this. This doesn't add up to me. This doesn't look right. And then, like you said, it's going to, it trickles down. It's going to affect other people where, like, an honest mistake may happen. Yeah. And now you're deemed as, you're just another influencer that's a part of the scam.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to be difficult on their end, too. Like, because they're basically standing up there and they're trying to report something that could theoretically help a lot of people, but I'm sure they're getting tons of negative backlash on every single video, whether that's comments, DMs, whatever, you know what I mean? And, I'm thankful that, like, I know a lot of this stuff basically just from what they put out.
Yeah.
You're right, Dave. There has been a ton of odd behavior in the hobby over the last several years. I think the more commercialized it gets, like, the worse it is for the collector personally. Because before we could actually afford to go out and buy the cards. Now they're so expensive, and what you get back out of it isn't even close to paying off the cost of the pack. Which is
remember the days when you could just buy a hobby box on a Saturday? Mm-hmm. On your day off, you go to your LCS, you buy a hobby box and just break it, and it's like, hey, I spent $150 maybe tops for a nice product.
Yeah.
And like at worst, you're like, I got $100 back out of it.
Yeah.
Like those days are done. And I just don't see it going back to that. Like you used to be able to buy stuff reasonable, and then you'd open it, and it's like, okay, I might have not got my $150 back, my $200 back, but you know what? I got a card. I can sell a couple of these rookie cards, $20 here, $20 here. Oh, here's a game used jersey, or maybe I hit a decent auto. I got 100 and a quarter back, something. But it's just like, it's not like that anymore. You just get burned. And I think, and that's what back to the comment when he was saying there's been a lot of suspicious things. And I think ever since 2020 in this mainstream investor mindset, these voices talking about investment, long-term appraisal, these are like stocks. It's come at a detriment to the hobby overall, in my opinion, because it's navigated away from collecting, and now it's just been flooded. And I've gone on rants about him before, but like Gary Vee didn't help the situation. You just navigated an entire demographic of young guys who wanted to flip for profits into a collectible space. Yeah. And now we have an imbalance of flippers to collectors. And the bread and butter of this hobby was always collectors. Like we were saying earlier, when you were younger, you didn't go brag about, oh, I'm going to go spend my $150 on a box score, or I'm going to spend my weekend at the card show. You kind of just, you did it. You might have a certain group of friends involved.
Well, and what made it worse
now,
what made it worse with him is that he did what he did and then he went ghost.
Yeah, man.
That's, if you're going to do that, you know what? And things got bad. You know what? You show your face on the freaking camera. Be a man about it. Don't go ahead and all of a sudden go ghost on people.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
I agree.
Just back to Chad, that's an awesome one, man. I think the Zebra might be a case hit.
Yeah, I think so. It is.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Fields is a good player too. I think that's a second year in 2022. But you might even have a buyer in chat if Big John's still here. He's a Justin Fields guy.
Oh yeah, that is a banger.
So so you need three cameras now for the new Fanatics breaks. Wow.
I would imagine Fanatics is going to go a long way into getting a lot of like the scam type people out of breaking, because they're going to make so much money off of breaking that I feel like they're going to want to police it a lot better.
Yeah.
What Dave was saying is LCS told him it's going to be a lot harder on smaller groups that, maybe not affiliated.
I think that will help the scam aspect. I don't know if it's going to solve the potential loaded boxes aspect.
No, probably not. I feel like they're going to keep doing whatever makes them the most money and promoting it through like a backyard breaks or, whoever the biggest YouTube channel is just makes sense, and it's cheaper than, putting out commercials whenever you already have the card people going to these places anyway.
For sure. And I think we're seeing this. This is the integration of that blueprint where it's like, you're going to see these certain faces hit these cards, or if an athlete's involved, it's going to happen. Like, that seems like the blueprint marketing that they're trying to go with. And I'm not a fan. I can't speak for everybody. I'm not a fan, because it makes me go into tinfoil mode. It's like, oh shit, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
well,
as a consumer,
that's what I was going to say. I thought I was just going to say, as a consumer, it changes your thought process.
Yeah.
As a consumer, how do you differentiate? And I guess this is a question for not just you, but the chat too. But how do you differentiate when you're watching content? Hey, is this something genuine, or is this something that's being force fed from company X, Y, or Z?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it very well could be either nowadays. And there's so many, and no shade against other content creators, you know what I mean? Because if a company came by and they had a good enough product, I'm not going to say I wouldn't put them on my channel, but how can you know as the person watching, like, hey, is this an actual good thing that I should be investing my hard-earned money into? Or is this something that they were just paid to say? And that I feel like that's the hard part now.
I can just tell you what doesn't help is that when you bring in an unsealed box to Michael Rubin with a soccer player sitting right next to you, and then that's how you're kicking off some of this, like, the new Fanatics era. It's like, if this is what you're starting with, and like we can all agree to a point, like you knew they were not going to bring in, what was it, Top Sterling, or I can't remember what the box.
I think it was Sterling.
But like, you're not going to bring Michael Rubin a crap box while he's on camera with an athlete.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, it's like, what's to say to the Joe Schmo collector, the Joe Schmo guy who likes to break on his weekends or buy into breaks? It's like, I don't have a chance, Yeah.
Like, to your point, they're not going to bring a $1,000 box to Michael Rubin and have him open up a card that's worth $40.
Yep.
It ain't happening because I mean, you just can't. You know,
Yeah.
you can't. I mean, because as much as you think that that is very bad for marketing, you think him pulling something great is really good for marketing. But then there's a whole bunch of other people out there and go, well, that's not really good for marketing either.
Yeah.
You know, from
Yeah.
that standpoint. But I think you know the whole what Fanatics is doing. They're gonna change, you know, the breaking thing. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I mean, you've already seen, you know, they've already stepped in. Well, I don't know if anything's been official, but you know, I believe they've already had some influence over eBay on some stuff that was going on eBay with the breaking there, right? And I actually think like Wednesday is like the last day. I don't know if your break had to either end on Wednesday or it had to start before Wednesday. That you would be that if you're a guy like me who I did do breaks on eBay because it was the only way I could, you know, sell them out rather than trying to do YouTube or Instagram, something like that.
Hmm.
You know, you're not going to be able to go ahead and break there. Again, I don't know if that is Fanatics influence or if it's, you know, eBay looking and wanting to protect their reputation or a combination of the two. But, you know, with what Fanatics is going to do, you know, they're going to control the breakers
Yep.
because they're gonna control all the product also. And again, with the loaded boxes stuff, why not? Why shouldn't I? Like you said, if one of the most watched YouTube, damn Twitch channels is getting all the views and everything, and that's where the public is going, you know, I'm
That's
gonna
where we're
do
gonna
it.
send. Yep.
Maybe they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna think that yes, I can't hit the LeBron logo, man. Maybe I can hit the Anthony Edwards logo, man.
Yeah.
Even though they can't, because that's gonna go to another person,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they think they can. So I'll buy that $1,000 box of basketball when they still got no flipping shot.
Hey, they'll still get the CJ Ellerby logo, man.
Right.
And I say this because Marty has, which is like my best friend, who's the biggest degenerate you'll ever meet. Like he's the guy. This is why, like I can personally see these boxes being loaded. Is I've literally seen him sit there and rip through $5,000 worth of boxes, box after box, and get nothing.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like it's not common that you're going to be pulling out like big cards like that consistently, especially like of key people with that person. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's possible. You could literally do anything because it's truly all random, right? But
that's what makes me question backyards breaks so much is when I saw the astronomical numbers that the formula that guy put out there showing like the odds. Because, like I said, for the amount of product backyard break, you never hear of them hitting like the CJ McCollum 1-of-1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the triple Golden State logo, man. Then it's the LeBron triple logo, man. It's like,
yeah,
how, you know, I get you go through a certain amount of product, you're bound to hit some big cards, but it's like all the best ones of the sets. That's where it's like, I can't co-sign this. It doesn't seem right to me. Something's off. Yeah. But like you said, they generate the eyeballs, and from a marketing standpoint, you want more eyeballs on those hits. You know.
And the other thing, please don't tell me that you don't know where the cards are going. Please, enough of that.
Yeah.
You're a friggin', you know, you're a company with inventory.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me you don't know where that freaking. I mean, why do you put little freaking holograms and numbers on the freaking boxes then?
Yep. Why are the serial codes a certain way?
Right. Please don't tell me that you don't know where that shit is.
Yep.
You know, it's exactly why those guys, whoever broke into Panini, they didn't break into where they broke into where the servers was, where they can break those codes and find out where the crap went. And who knows? They may be buying up the stuff.
Yeah.
It could have been a little army who said, hey, guess what? There's hits here, 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 and here, and here. Go buy it and stuff like that. And who knows? Maybe we'll see it, you know, get sold on the secondary market. But, you know, enough of that kind of crap also.
Yeah.
You don't have a hologram with a different number on every single box.
I remember shout out to Raul again. But I remember when he was talking about these loaded boxes and everybody was crapping on him.
Yeah.
Everybody was coming after him.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, the Kaboom code
Yep.
They found out with Crown Royal, the Kaboom code, and people were calling in to LCSs and they were saying, read me the code, because they could tell they found the code.
Yep.
So exactly what you're saying, Mike. Like everybody was saying, oh, this is crazy conspiracy talk. Next thing you know, the Kaboom code was cracked and it went out. People knew.
Yeah.
So if it's happening with Crown Royal, don't tell me it's not happening with Flawless, NT, Prism, whatever.
Especially Flawless being hand packed. It's way easier to map those.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you not know when you put the Luca 1 of 1 with the diamond autograph in there? Oh, sure. I'm sure the guy packing that case is not telling a soul of where that case might be going. Yeah, he's going, okay, no, I'm not saying nothing anymore.
Going into a little LCS in Kansas. Like, my ass,
Uh-huh. I gotta wonder how much of these duplicate 1 of 1s, like Dave was saying, it would make sense that there'd be duplicates if there's a damaged one, so they would, take back the damaged one and then, give the good one to the person who pulled it. But by the same point, how many of these damaged ones are somehow finding their way to the market now? That's what I'd really like to know. You know what I mean? Like, is there somebody backdooring the stuff from Panini or from Topps, whomever is printing the stuff? I could totally see, oh, this is just damaged inventory. Nobody needs that. I'll take that one for my PC. Next thing you know, you take it to a card show, and then next thing you know, there's more than one circulated. Yeah.
Well, that could possibly be what's going down with these duplicate Dan the Cardman's talking about. These NFL shields, these rookie shields from like Lamar Jackson and stuff. Like, was one damaged, and then next thing you know, somebody working there's like, this still has immense value. Let them print another one. I'll take the damaged one, and I'll just do my thing with it, backdoor it. I mean, anything can happen. He was covering Bowman baseball and Topps Chrome baseball cards that were backdoor from college kids or something, supposedly, and they've made it out into the market. Now they got fake autographs on them.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. But I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist.
No, it's again, statistical with certain things, all that kind of stuff, 100%. And I think the other thing, when you really look and you start to, when you start to peel back the onion, as they say, is that how many, like a 1 of 1 like that is not a card that typically, unless I'm mistaken, but a lot of those, sometimes those big 1 of 1 stuff, some of that stuff was redemptions, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, a lot of it is the individual stuff that you get in Immaculate or you get in, Flawless. You're not getting, a guy's not opening up a blaster from the Walmart shelf and getting that card. So what would make you think that you need a replacement?
Yeah.
That's those typically, a lot of those cards are more, they're placed in the product, like even Immaculate. When you open it, it's one little box and everything.
Yep.
A machine. I cannot believe that a machine is putting that in there.
And then you have to think it's sealed.
Right.
Even if it's not a redemption, it's sealed in those products too. So it's like, is it being damaged? Are people faking the card? I don't know. And then you have to think they're going through grading companies and getting authenticated and graded. That's a scary thing too.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh man, are they knowingly getting these cards through? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's just a domino effect of like, man, people just got to be real cautious and you got to be very thorough with some of these high-end buys and what you're doing and stuff. And it's like, the more questions get asked, I know, guys we keep talking about, they get backlash for asking these questions. Even guys like me, I've had people, why are you talking all this tinfoil stuff when you're on a stream? And it's like, hey man, I'm just calling it as I see it. And it's like, if it bothers you so much for me asking questions, do you not think other people are asking questions who've been in this hobby for as long as we have? Like,
that's the thing too. Like, if you're asking the question, others are thinking it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you're literally just saying what hundreds, if not thousands, of people are probably already thinking, looking at the
Right.
situation from the outside.
Well,
You know?
and to talk about redemptions right here, um, you know, there's a booth at the Nationals for Panini for redemptions that you have sent in that have not been satisfied.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Hey, I sent this in 3 years ago. I don't have it.
Right.
Okay. So what are we saying? That card was never sent to the athlete to sign, or was it? And that athlete signed it. And he said, "Screw it, I ain't mailing it." Right? And all of a sudden, the cleaning lady's looking around one day, and she picks up. She's like, "Oh wow, check this out!" Right?
Yep.
And she takes it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so that's another thing. And I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, me redemptions, I never understood. To me, you're going to have a card that's a redemption. You have somebody sit down with the flipping athlete and say, "Look, this is a 1 of 10. Sign these 10 cards. Thank you very much. We take them, we put them
Yeah.
in our vault. When
Yeah.
somebody hits it and they mail it to us, we send the card out, not waiting for an athlete to
Yeah.
sign."
Yeah.
Why do you have to wait for an athlete to sign, for crying out loud?
And it's not like the athletes aren't getting paid for these. They're all under
Yeah.
contract. Like this shouldn't be an issue. I don't understand how it's such an issue. And like you said, back to the cleaning lady story. I can't remember if it was Dan. I think it was Dan. It was a Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum dual logo man autograph, and it was a redemption. And then next thing you know, it's on the market. I don't know which auction house, eBay, I'm not sure, but it popped up. And the person who had the redemption was like, "I've been waiting on this card and now it's being sold." It was
Right?
like $17,000 sale. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Did this get backdoored? Like
Yeah.
how are these things happening? Because it's like somebody sitting there happens to see the sale, was like, wait a minute, that's my redemption being sold. It never made it to me. I'm not the one getting that 17 grand. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. That's insane. Like, even I just look at cards Marty's pulled. Like, he's been waiting on a Ja Morant Revolution auto since, like, I think 2020. And somehow Ja Morant autos are finding their way into newer packs.
Yeah.
So it's like, if Panini was able to secure X number of autos, why wouldn't you just send them to the people that have been waiting for multiple years for their autos?
I never understood. And to be honest with you, like I've never been a fan. And redemptions have been a thing. It's not like a new Panini thing. Like this has been a thing.
Yes.
Back to Upper Deck and different stuff like that. Like redemptions have been a thing. But like you have to think, like, if you're charging these amount of prices for your boxes, what would make you even think, like, if you don't have the product ready, you need to adjust your set list, and like you need to do the product accordingly, where it's like, listen, this guy doesn't have autos in this product. I wouldn't want a redemption. I don't care how great a player is, because it seems like these redemptions, you're waiting 5 years, 3 years, and then you can't talk to anybody. You call in, nobody's going to talk to you. You get put on hold for like days. You never, so it's like, it's almost like false hope. It's kind of sad. And it's like, that's not good. That's not good for the hobby.
Yeah. But Chasing Majors was right. Numbers don't lie. It makes no sense how consistently happens. Mark says, hey, the white boxes, they can redo anything, which is, that's another one. Again, and like I said, and it's just amazing how those few people, influencers, who they just, how they will crap all over people just saying, just doesn't look right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
the optics of this don't look right. I'm not saying anything, I'm not saying that, I can't say 100% it's true or false, but it just looks wrong. It just
Optics are
there's
off.
something off on this,
And then,
whatever, with the
and then,
redemptions, with the
and then
boxes, with all this kind of stuff.
the people who ask the questions get all the backlash instead of the companies
Exactly.
responsible for this. You're not sending out redemptions. How cards are getting backdoored, duplicate 1 of 1s, whatever. Like they're the people who ask the questions take the brunt of the consequence when it's like, hey, I'm just noticing a theme here. I'm just asking a question, but they get turned into the bad guy, and the companies don't
It is
answer
crazy
anything.
how the whistleblower gets basically the scarlet letter for basically saying, hey, this guy's getting abused over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's blatant rape going on right over here.
Right.
But it's like you're the jagoff for bringing it up.
Did you just ask that question? Like, we're not going to hold the actual crime accountable, the culprit. We're just gonna, you shouldn't ask that question, and that's where my mind gets blown. It's like, what? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I got a question.
Dave.
Not to flip it or take over the show, but I got a question.
Do.
You can PC one player, one thing of your choice. What's your PC look like?
Right now, it's probably LeBron, just because like most of like my PC is like that's valuable is LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of my like stuff that I really like are like Cordell Stewart, Anderson Varejao cards, like you know, autographs, patches, that kind of stuff. You know, just like the players I grew up like really going after. Like for most of LeBron's career, I was going after Varejao harder than I was going after him because his cards were cheap and I could afford them. You know what I mean? It wasn't really till I was like an adult, like working, earning a decent wage, that I really started collecting more LeBron James stuff, just because obviously price and stuff like that. But I guess if I could choose just one person, it would probably be LeBron, just because it will have value one day, just like we were kind of talking about offline. You know, like as far as like grading and stuff, you still want your PC to be valuable because one day you might want to move it. You know what I mean? So I guess if I could only do one, it would have to be LeBron for that reason.
So even though I am a big, you know, Fred Lynn is my favorite player of all time. If I could PC any one player, it would be baseball, and believe it or not, it would be Tom Seaver.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, you know, he's the best player to ever play for, you know, my favorite team. So I'm a Mets fan. Sorry, but you know, he's the best player that has ever played, and that's, you know, wow, I would, you know, nobody else. That would be the guy for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I look at today, and like I said, I don't know if it's just, you know, I don't know if I'm becoming the, you know, the crotchety old guy in the sports thing, but I just don't look at any of these players. It's like, you know, and say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna collect, you know, this guy. I want to find now this is my I just don't. I mean,
think
I
it's
don't,
different
you know.
when you're older too, because like that's what my struggle is. Like I'm 33. I'm not old. I'm not, you know, but you know, you have a different nostalgia when you're younger, looking up to the person you're like. I don't look up to these young guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't look up to, like, they're younger than me. They're kids to me. So
Yeah.
it's like, I think that's a factor too. Now, I'm sure like growing up with a player, because like the guy I would like if I had to just do one PC, it's really tough. It would probably, oh man,
Which one of the initials makes the cut?
LT or KD, and to be honest, like the nostalgia, because I was younger and I looked up to him as like a false idol. You know, I shouldn't be doing it. Christian. I shouldn't have any false idols. But using that, you know, terminology, like as a kid, he was like my hero.
Oh yeah.
Now, around my age, when he went to Texas and then went on into the league, I jumped on the KD bandwagon. I would say I enjoyed PCing KD more, and that would probably be my PC choice. But to say like that means I like him more than Tomlinson, I don't think so, because like my childhood hero is LaDainian Tomlinson. Like I almost look at KD as almost like a peer. Like I looked up to LT. That was my youth. I was like, I remember being 11 years old. 2001 was such an awesome year because you had Mike Vick, Drew Brees, LaDainian Tomlinson in football. You had Ichiro and Pujols come out in baseball. And like for card collectors and the hobby, that was an awesome year. Like you had it all across the board. So like as a young guy, I really looked up to LT. That was like my hero. I wanted to be, you know, when I played football, I wanted to be like LT. But like, I honestly, like you said, Tony, like appraisal being a part of your PC and a factor, I would probably have to go with KD, even though I know his legacy is not going to be anything like LeBron's, and I don't know how collectible he's going to be, because I think he's got more foes than fans. But I think I would probably pick KD.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame you. I think long term his stuff will be pretty good, especially if he wins more championships outside of Golden State. Yeah, Griffey'd be a great one too. I think
Yep.
Griffey was one of those like players that just like redefined like what it was to be a baseball player. He came in, he had the backwards hat, he just had swagger
Dude,
to him.
talk about an icon.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
and you know what? And it was right. It like, I know he was what, 89, it was his rookie, but like,
Yeah.
he was one of the faces after the 90s strike that like got people back into, like, you know what I mean? Like there was a group of guys. Now, that was my brother. That was his. I know he's a big Griffey guy. And you know, it's fun. I don't PC Griffey, but I have a couple 90s inserts of Griffey because it's like, it's just like LeBron. I have a couple LeBron cards because it's like, I grew up with these guys. Boom. Look.
Just happen to have these right next to them.
Flaunting, flexing on the youngsters. But like that whole era, like those 90s baseball guys, I know they all get a bad rap, even though Griffey, I don't put him in that steroid category. But like my guy is Bonds.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
Bonds,
everybody craps on Bonds because of the steroids and stuff, but like that era of baseball, like those faces made baseball like fun again.
Oh, yeah.
After that strike, things were a little weird.
True.
Yeah, I'm a big Bonds thing too, man. But I'm from Pittsburgh.
I actually just won a Bonds on eBay. I don't have it to show it because it's still being shipped here. The guy actually reached out to me via eBay. He's like, "You got an Instagram? You know, message me on Instagram." But I got the 97 Flair Hot Gloves PSA 9 Barry Bonds.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, bro, I'm so excited. I've been looking for that for a while, and those were so expensive a year ago, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And like now I got into a price range where I was like, man, under $200. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah,
I don't blame you there.
Especially
with the prices coming down lately, it's definitely a good time to pick up some of that stuff.
Yeah, right now's the time. Like I picked up a couple flawless.
Amen, John. Amen.
Because like 2 years ago, even like a year and a half, 2 years ago, like I wasn't wanting to get into those flawless KDs. But now I was kind of able to, so I picked up 2 of them, patch autos. I wanted a Oklahoma City and I wanted a Golden State. I know everybody hates Golden State KD, but like those were his like legacy cementing metrics. Like he won Finals MVP, won multiple championships. I get it, but like as a KD guy, it's like OKC was when everybody loved him, and then Golden State was when he like had those legacy cementing metrics to his resume.
Yeah.
And you know, David, a great point right here. And I tell you, this is where the hobby has changed. This is one of the switches in the hobby, is in that when we were younger and we looked at those guys, we didn't see dollar signs.
Yep.
The young guys for today, all they see is a dollar sign. They see a Tom Brady card. They see a dollar sign, a Montana, a Gretzky, a Jordan. That's what they see. They don't see the athlete. Like, I honestly wonder, with some of these younger kids that we see at these shows, do they know about the player, about the sport, the way we did when we, you know, way I did when I was younger, or do they know about just that one player and they really don't know about anything else? You know, they just know, well, hey, his PSA 10 went for $850 on eBay 3 weeks ago. You can look it up yourself. But I'm only asking $700.
Yep. Mike, I agree with you totally. Like I remember getting the Tomlinson cards in 2002, 2003, 2004, looking at the back because I knew his stats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like now, I don't think it's like that. And that's why we were talking earlier, like when kids show up to your table at shows, how much do you really hear about, oh, I'm collecting this person, I'm looking for this person, I want to collect it? Or is it, are you buying? I got these graded. You know, and that's where I feel like the hobby's like, it's turned into this like phony investment flipping space. It's not this passionate collectible, you know, I'm going to argue my favorite running back. Who's yours? Oh, mine's better. You know what I mean? Like we enjoyed the players. We enjoyed collecting their cardboard pictures. You know, like, and I think we've lost sight of that. And I think a lot of it has to do with this gambling mindset, this investor's mindset, this I can flip and make, I can buy it 70% and I can flip it. It's just like, and I think that's what's got more kids involved because I agree. If you took the flipping out of this, I don't know how many kids would actually be here or know the sports like we did when we grew up.
Well, I think that's what you say. That's what it is. I think to them, they don't understand the difference between collecting and investing. To them,
Yeah.
it's all the same because
Yeah.
they say I'm collecting Ken Griffey because I'm gonna sell Ken Griffey.
Yep.
I'm not collecting Ken Griffey because I want Ken Griffey cards or I want Ja cards or whatever it may be. Look at that. That's a great point, John from Chasing Majors.
Yeah.
Chatting with the young kids at the hobby. Yeah. You know, so they have so in their mindset is that's not collecting the way we think of it as collecting. They're collecting, you know what they're doing? Let's go a little shameless plug. They're collecting profits is what they are collecting.
That they are. And why aren't they watching that? Damn it. We're talking about what they're trying to do.
Because it's 12:15 and they're all asleep now.
Touche. It is past their bedtime.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is they're not collecting the card. They think they are collecting, but they're collecting the asset. They're not collecting because they love that player.
Right.
Big difference. That's where the hobby is. And that's why you have such a different when you think about it, when you do hear about a collecting aspect versus an investing aspect, if you sit back and you watch those audiences are very different people.
Oh yeah, dude. You ain't
very different people.
Oh, and you know what? I don't blame the kids. I blame a lot of people who got on a mic, got on YouTube, and started pushing this idea when money got flooded in during 2020, where these are investments. And I mean, everybody has to take accountability for their own agency. I truly believe that. But I don't blame this mass group of young kids that have flooded the hobby. I blame a lot of the loud voices and microphones who sold a dream where it was like, this money that's being poured into this space, these are now investments. And I agree with you, Mike. Like, kids see the dollar sign next to things. They don't see the player or they don't have that connection from hey, I collect him because I watch his games when he's on TV. You know, I remember waiting, going through and wait, boy, are the Chargers going to be on national TV this week? Can I watch LT? Is OKC going to be on TNT this week? And now I have to admit, I just said I don't really like. He's younger than me, so it's kind of hard. Like to say, I don't look up to him, but I'll be honest. Since about 2018, I've become a fan of Joker. Watching Nikola Jokic, and he's not the sexy guy that everybody's going to tell you to turn on the TV and watch. But when you watch him, you sit there. He knows how to play basketball. Like this dude is fun to watch for me. Now he's not. I get he just won a championship, but I flew out to Denver, and what would it have been? Early 2020, right before March, and everything went crazy. I flew out to Denver because around 2018, 20, I said, this Nikola Jokic, I said, this dude's tough. Flew out to Denver. My cousin flew from Indy. We met out in Denver. Went to a Nuggets game. I had food poisoning on the plane, dude. It was the worst. Worst thing ever, having food poisoning on a 3.5-hour flight. Got to Denver. We went to a Nuggets game the second night we were there. I watched him play the Trailblazers. I looked at my cousin. This was in early 2020. I said, he's going to win an MVP. I said, this is an MVP caliber dude when nobody was talking about him. So like over the last 3-4 years, it's like I watch Jokic now, even though I'm not a fan of Panini that much. But like, what else other option do I have to get Jokic cards,
Yeah.
And I only have 2 because I'm just not that big of a fan of Panini,
I mean, what's amazing about him is he is so good, and in reality, so boring at the same time.
Amen.
It's like, what the hell?
That's why I take pride in the fact that I'm a fan of his, is because it's not about the dollar. it's not about being mainstream because nobody cared about Jokic. I mean, he was doing some phenomenal things in 2018, 2019, 2020, but like nobody took him as an MVP candidate. Nobody would fly out to Denver just to go see the player that they, you know what I mean? But it was like, watching him play for a few years, I thought, this dude, and nobody's talking about him. I'm like, this guy's good. But you're right. There's not a sexy thing. He can't jump over a phone book. And he just swept LeBron James. Sorry, Anthony. I'm not trying to throw shade. But, like,
he deserved it.
Oh, bro. And, like, the plus, what really sold me on him is, like, before, like, I think it was even when Jamal Murray was hurt. Like, his plus minus when he's on the floor, they were like a top 5 team, and he accounted for like I don't know how many percentage of what they do offensively. But when he goes off the floor, they were a lottery team. Like they were that bad without him on the floor.
All right, John, thanks for stopping by, man. Much appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
So another little fun fact about the Nationals.
Uh-oh.
When Anthony and I went in 2021, SGC was awesome that year. They didn't do all they did. I don't know if you heard about what they were doing, but all they did their entire time there is they were interacting with the people and they were running free breaks. And all you had to do was show up to their booth and you showed them a slabbed SGC card. They gave you a ticket. They put a ticket in the hopper and they picked them out and everything. So I'm fortunate enough. Now this is 2021. So I'm fortunate enough they pull my number in an immaculate box. And in immaculate, I think it's 7 cards. The 5th card is usually the hit card.
Mm-hmm.
So they put in 15. There's 30 basketball teams, right? Or is it 32?
Yep, 30.
It's 30.
32.
So they put in 15 people. And everybody gets 2. And I get the Orlando Magic. And I get the Denver Nuggets.
Oh, baby.
I'm like, oh, man, this really sucks. So they go through. First card, I don't remember what the hell it was. Second card, to 45 triple color patch on-card auto of Hideo Turkoglu, Orlando Magic. They take the 4th card, they take the 3rd card, take the 4th card, and Pete, the guy from SGC, he looks the 5th card and he goes, we're going to hold this one for a second. Does the 6th card, does the 7th card, so on. So he's going, all right, we're going to slow roll this one. 2021, shadow box signatures, card number, and it was a Joker redemption. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So out of that box, I wound up getting 2 cards. So I have it. It's in my box. I don't actually have it. I don't have it right near my desk and everything. But yeah, so that was
dude, that's awesome.
That was pretty cool.
Did they redeem it? You don't have a redemption. They redeemed it, right?
Oh no, yeah, I actually have the redemption.
Okay, cool.
I'm getting
cool. We were just telling horror stories over redemptions. Yeah. I had to ask.
My son had even a better shot because what happens is Heritage Auctions and Vintage Breaks are doing I forgot what Luca's year was.
2018.
2018. So they're doing 2018 Immaculate on the main stage. They loved what SGC was doing. So they say, SGC, Heritage Auctions wants to give one of your customers, one of your people, a shot. They pull my son's number. We go over to the big stage. Now, my son doesn't know how the boxes are set up. So they put the 7 names in, they randomize them, and you get whatever the card is. And my son is in spot number 5. And I'm like, holy crap, that's Luca's rookie year. We may need security to get the hell out of here. But he wound up pulling, I think, a triple color on card 2 out of 14 or 1 out of 14 Karl Anthony Towns autograph he got. Actual real card then. He didn't have to redeem it or anything.
Man. That's awesome. That's a hell of a national.
It was, it was a hell of a national.
Not bad for free breaks.
Not bad for free.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be bothering you in the DMs for that Luka or for that Jokic you pulled. That redemption.
Well, I'm fine. I'll take a picture of it. I might have a picture. I don't have to look at my picture.
For your screensaver.
Yeah. That's what I'll do. I'll change it.
I gotta get out of here. Picture of my kids. Where's Jokic?
Oh man, I'd have blown a hamstring doing cartwheels if that were me, man. I'd have been like, get the.
Oh, I was shocked.
That's insane.
I was shocked.
Even the Turkaloo, like that's a banger Turkaloo card.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Especially.
I was extremely happy.
Mike, you got to pull. If I ever buy wax, you got to pull my boxes for me. You got the magic touch.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was cool. No, it was I'm sorry, it was 2019 Panini Immaculate. I'm looking at the redemption card. Yeah. The Hideo Turkoglu was 4-color. It was 40 out of 50 on card. It's very
nice.
But it was that was a lot of fun there. But and hey, that was a loaded box. Okay.
Hey, it worked in your favor that time, right?
About time one of us benefited from one of them loaded boxes.
Yeah.
What's funny? I haven't opened wax since I want to say it was Andrew Luck and RG3 Sugar 2012.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
I went to my dude. I just don't. I've always been a singles guy. I know the cards and the players I want. It's just But I used to buy. Trust me, when I was younger, I'd buy boxes. Went to my LCS, bought a hobby box. This was the last box I ever bought. It was Topps, and I ended up pulling an RG3 auto, rookie auto. Now at the time, I know today it's like, but like at the time, RG3 rookie auto, that was a banger. I think I sold it for like $150 or something like that. Heck and at the time, that was great. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But after that, I just stopped buying wax. So at least I went out with a semi-bang, It's not a 3-color redemption Jokic, but, at the time, wasn't bad.
Yeah. I don't rip too much wax myself either. Like I do every once in a while. Like if I find like a product that I really want to open or, something that I deem to be like worth it value wise. Yeah. But for the most part, I just live vicariously through my buddy.
Dude, that's what I was going to say. I love watching other people rip.
Yeah.
I don't like doing it. I don't know. I'd rather take that money and like put it towards what I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because at least then you have the card you want.
Yeah.
Because now, you rip the pack, you might get something you don't want. Like even your good card might just be something you don't collect.
It got to a point, and that's what the RG3 auto taught me. I was like,
Troy has a question for you.
Yeah, I just read that. But real quick, what I was getting at is I enjoyed ripping wax, but it got to a point like even if I got a big pool and it wasn't something I wanted to keep, but then I have to go through the whole thing of selling it and then putting the money towards the card I want anyway. So I was like,
yeah,
I'm just done ripping. But Steve, what do you make of people now collecting what they like? Oh, I think that's fantastic. I think guys, you should always collect what you want. Mm-hmm. The thing is, I just think, like Mike was talking to earlier, like, are you collecting because of the profit or are you collecting because you're passionate about that player or that team? Or, I think there should be something personable. Like there's a reason it's a personal collection. Yeah. So as far as collecting goes, like, yeah, there's certain avenues. Like I have some LeBron cards that, like, trust me, I picked them up because I think they have long-term value. But they're also cards I want in my collection. So, I always have this thought where it's like, if I have this card 10 years from now, am I going to be happy it's in my PC? And I think if people thought about buying their cards or collecting that way, where it's like, in 10 years, am I going to look through my case or look through my, binder, however you choose to collect? Am I going to look through my cards and am I going to be happy I have this in 10 years? And that's kind of how I use as my metric of like what I want to collect. Of course, I'm player driven, it's certain players I want, but like, because I've even caught myself times like where I was buying certain cards where it's like, I like the player, but it's like in 10 years, I'm not married to this card. Like I can move it. So sell it, put it into something I know I want,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Just thinking 10 years out, because you're going to save yourself so much money. In that instance, like for example, like a guy like LaMelo Ball right now. You could be out collecting all of his cards, but in 10 years, like what are his cards probably going to be worth? Like right now, I'm probably upside down from what I paid on a Prism Silver Raw his rookie year. You know what I mean? Like, and it's only like 3 years into his career or something like that. So it really makes you think a lot of these cards, like you got to take more of a long-term approach. I know one dealer, I can't remember if it was my buddy Mark or not. He's the guy who runs the Pittsburgh card show.
Yeah, I know Mark.
But yeah, one dealer told me this once, and it like changed the way I collect. He was like, yeah, so these Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Balls, Trevor Lawrences, these are the guys that you rip and flip right away to actually build the collection you want of, like the Tom Brady's, the LeBron James, the Michael Jordans, like the guys that are going to be here to stay, that their cards are going to always hold value, that, one injury or, one fluky situation away from just like completely crumbling most of like your long-term potential. Yeah. So I want to give Mark credit for that. It might not have been him, but definitely somebody wise at a Pittsburgh show told me that.
Yeah. That's good advice, because it's like, and that's what we're talking about, like these modern kids. And like, I think that's how they're looking at collecting. Like Mike was talking about earlier, like you're almost collecting profits. And like with this modern stuff, the way the hobby is made up and how it's, the way things are going, you kind of have to do that, where it's like, if you do rip something and you do acquire a young hot prospect, it's like, flip it now. Don't hold out, because the long term, the odds are the longer you hold that card, the depreciation is going to factor in rather than an appreciation. And when we were talking earlier, like you're even seeing LeBron cards come down now. Now, I think that has to do with inflation too. They got inflated to a point where it was like base Topps Chrome cards were at like what, 20K, 18K at one point, like PSA 10s. Like that's just, there's so many of them. Like they're not that rare, where it's like, there's no way that it's inflated. You know what I mean? Like this, there's no way it can go up from here. But yeah, flip it as soon as you can, and then put it, if you want to collect, put that money into the cards of the guys that your Peyton Mannings, your Tom Brady's, the guys that you want a PC.
Yeah, definitely.
I think people left the hobby during the COVID because the prices got so damn ridiculous. People were like, there's no sense in me even. I think it was 2 reasons. Number one, couldn't find product.
Yeah.
And if you found it, you got extremely lucky. You were very, very lucky if you walked into a store and found it. That's number one. That's number two. And and I think number two, if you went looking for it and you had to go online, the prices were frigging stupid.
Yeah. I personally think a lot of what happened during COVID, a lot of these people were left holding, like we talked about holding the bag earlier. I think a lot of these people that got in during COVID for like investment purposes are now left holding a bag of something that's worth like maybe a third of what they paid for it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if you're not in it because you actually want to keep these cards or you care about these cards, but you're in it because you thought these cards were going to like 3x, 10x, or however many X, and they've done nothing but diminish, like there's really no sense in holding on to, because in my opinion, most of those cards are just a reminder of your failure. Like, not saying that these people are failures, but the endeavor they set out in which to make money on the cards became a pretty epic blunder, like across the board. Like, not many cards are worth more today than they were in 2020 or whenever this boom took place. So, I mean, some people probably did well because they were investing in the right people or just buying the right people for that matter. But the majority of people that like got into it buying during those times have all lost money.
Yeah.
So personally, like I wouldn't feel too good about being a part of something that made me lose that much money either.
No.
I don't know, Anthony. I mean, Sekou could make a comeback.
I've already held the bag on that one. Isaac Okoro is another one I'm currently holding the bag on. Granted, I was more collecting Okoro.
Right.
I was flipping Sekou with the idea of, oh, this guy could be good. He wasn't. He sucked.
Okay.
He sucked really bad.
But I think 2020 to like 2021, maybe early 2022, I think the farther we get away from that bubble, you're going to see, like you said, the people who are going to have disdain from their experience in the hobby, they're not going to come back because a lot of them got in it for the wrong reasons. They were, they might have listened to certain content. Again, I think individual accountability has to play a factor, but like when you're hearing all of these loud accounts with these loud microphones talking about investments and prices and, percentages, appraisal, you're hearing all these things, you kind of get fooled and duped. You get influenced, which is what influencers can do. And you may have gotten in at the wrong time. The farther we leave that bubble, I think you're seeing a more balanced approach. And the people who are leaving are, I agree, guys who were either stuck holding the bag or people who were able to flip within a short time frame, get their profits and leave.
Yeah. I mean, because really it doesn't make sense if you look at it from a business perspective to continue to put money in like you probably were during the pandemic or like pandemic times into a market right now that's tremendously down. Like I think of even my buying habits when it comes to card shows and stuff like that. Like I'm so picky and even dollar boxes now because it's like, how long is that going to sit on eBay before like, that card sells, because there's like 20,000 LaMelo Ball base cards on eBay. You know what I mean? So the market's just totally different. The money's not like all together there like it was. Now, if you have the right inventory, the money's going to always be there. But if you just have run of the mill stuff, it's a lot harder to move your stuff versus like seller A, B, or C out there.
Yeah. And the fact that you brought up COVID, like you have to think too, that was a time frame where people weren't going to work. They were staying at home. They had nothing to do. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't really do anything. And you had checks being printed off by the government being sent to people. Yep. And that was a metric that definitely influenced this space. You had nothing to do but sit at home and watch content. You got to see all these people talk about investments. You had money being sent to you. And if you were fortunate enough to say, maybe you didn't have to go to work, but you were still getting your salary or, what, I don't know everybody's economic situation, but like you have to think there was a demographic of people who were like, I can spend this money. Like I can go put this money somewhere and they're, all these cards are 10Xing. Why don't I throw it in here?
And I think you saw it.
Oh, go ahead.
You saw certain influencers that were not card people that got into it. So they brought a whole bunch of different people with them that were not in the hobby. And then all of a sudden they see, Gary V, they see, some of these other people and they go, wait a minute. I got cards in my attic.
Yep.
I got cards in my mother's attic. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go over there and go see what the, what the deal is, and see what I got and everything. And then, you start that ball rolling and oh my gosh. And then, like you said, I'm sitting here doing nothing and I'm getting a nice big check. Hell, I got to spend it on something and I can't go out in the store anywhere. Ooh.
No traveling, no vacation, no work. You're at home. What else are you going to do? I'm going to watch these guys break. I'm going to start buying into breaks. I'm going to start buying up cards on eBay and trying to flip them on eBay. Because there was a time where if you bought something at $300, within a week it was selling for $400. It was a wild time. And then someone like me, like, I invest in my retirements. I pay attention to certain economic markets and stuff like this. And then you kind of sit back and you're like, wait a minute. This isn't sustainable. And all of the things going around surrounding this, like this isn't going to last long. Because I was flipping and setting up at shows and doing stuff. I would go with my old man. Once they started opening things up towards like the end of 2020, maybe early 2021, I was doing shows again. And it got to a point where I was like, this is so trendy. And it's so like, what are you doing for me lately? Who's the hot person to talk about this week? And that's when I was like, I'm going to navigate this money I put into my inventory that I was flipping around and setting up with, and I'm going to generate it and put it towards my PC. So I didn't. I'm not gonna act like, oh, I didn't take losses on cards. I did, certain cards, but like I did see a little bit sooner where I was like, I don't think this is sustainable. No market, it doesn't work this way. This doesn't make sense. And then you started to see, 2021, end of 2022, you saw the prices coming back down. Things were tanking. Reality stepped back in. People were going back to work. The checks stopped getting, the Fed stopped printing off funny money, is what I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, then it was funny how, when, pre-pandemic, pandemic all of a sudden hit, right? And then all of a sudden starts to down. And then the weird part is that there were actually people who were trying to make sense and go, wait a minute, look, I understand that card X at the high sold for $1 million. I understand that now it's dropped down. It's only selling for 600,000. Yes, that's a $4 million loss, but it's still up if you go before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Not to the guy who paid $1 million for it.
Mm-hmm. You ain't kidding, man. And there's a lot of examples of that. There's a lot of examples of that. Not to keep shouting out Dan and Raul, but like they can break it down. They've done it many times and they catch a lot of flack where it's like, that's negative. And it's like, no, it's not negative. That's the reality. And it's like people were buying at the peak and they were being told, keep buying. It's going to go up more. And it's like, I agree with you, Mike. I think a lot of people who weren't card savvy, who kind of like got on a YouTube channel and had a mic and acted like they were in the hobby before 2020, were selling people on fool's gold and false dreams where it's like, this card's going to keep going up. This is now an investment. And this whole investor's mindset, when pre-2020 did we ever talk about cards and investments in the same sentence?
Never.
I don't remember it ever happening. Growing up, buying, we never,
Well, I think the only ones you
outside of maybe saving a really good one for like the future, like when I was a kid, my mom would be like, "Hey, that's a Dan Marino rookie card. You might want to save that for when you have kids one day."
Right.
As opposed to like this card is going to be X Y Z.
Yeah.
It was just it might be a good idea to keep it, but other than that, it was never like, "Hey, this is going to be an appreciating asset."
Right.
No, not overall. But I think the only cards that were looked at that way were like the T206 Honus Wagner.
Certain vintage.
The Michael Jordan, 86 Fleer, the Wayne Gretzky rookie. There were, the Mantle, 52 Mantle. There was a very, very small
the 1%.
Lack of a better word, stack of cards that were spoke about that way. It wasn't, Zion Williams and base rookie cards.
Base Prism
base rookie with not spoken in the same voice.
It's crazy that base Prism became the measuring stick from 2020. You know what I mean? Like that was literally like any channel you'd watch, regardless of the creator. It was like the measurement they put for cards going up was always the base PSA 10 Prism.
Yep. Everybody was putting it up on their channel. Everybody used it as a metric. And it's
if you go to a card show,
and you're like, wait a minute, there's 2,500 of these PSA 10s, and then you look and you're like, there's more PSA 10 base Burrow rookies than there are PSA 9s. Is the 9 more valuable because it's technically more rare? Like, what are we doing here, But, I think a lot of people got burned in that cycle, that bubble. And you're seeing people leave the hobby with disdain. And like, this is what I would say to a lot of these people who have the same microphones talking about, we want to grow the hobby. It's like, I think you're just saying that as like to save face, because if you really were, you wouldn't have, you wouldn't have pumped this message that you were pumping in 2020, 2021.
Very true.
Completely agree. We've been going close to 3 hours.
I found it.
Oh, let's see it.
Of your time, but as he's shown this, is there any other topics that we haven't touched on yet that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, that's beautiful, Mike.
And it's out of 99. It's 75 out of 99.
That's a banger. Congratulations, man. Hell of a national. Honestly, I know we've been close to 3 hours. Nothing on the top of my head that's popped up that I really want to talk about. We covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, well, I would love to, maybe have you on again in the future and just shoot the breeze again, man. Like, I've really enjoyed just the conversation and just a hobby talk, man. You're super knowledgeable, and it shows.
Hey, I'm flattered you guys had me on. I appreciate the invite, and if you're willing to have me back, brother, I'll come back for sure.
Absolutely, anytime you want, Steve. Seriously,
hey,
either one of our channels. I've been officially invited you onto his now.
I can use the boost.
I'm here for the boost.
Yep.
Be pump and dump. Pump my channel and dumping.
I'm down. I'll pump it, but we ain't dumping.
Good stuff.
But, hey, Mike, it was great to meet you.
You too,
Anthony. Hopefully, we see each other at another show sometime. And really I'll gladly come back. I greatly appreciate the time and the conversation. I love talking about cards, man, even if it's negative.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Chad, I appreciate you being here. Do me a favor, leave a nice comment down below for Steve for the time he spent with us here tonight. I'm sure he would appreciate that. Make sure you follow him over on Instagram. I have it scrolling below, and it's in the chat for you guys. It's Splendas_sports_cards. Also, make sure you follow me and Michael over there as well. And subscribe to Huddle Card if you haven't, because we'll be over on his channel next week. Any news about next week's episode, Michael?
I am working on some people, but there are a number of people are just saying, hey, it's a little close to nationals. We're trying to get ready. So, but I am pounding the emails, trying to get people's.
If not, you'll see us two handsome men there either way.
That's it.
So, what more could you want, But again, guys, we appreciate you all. We'll see y'all next week. God bless.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate you.
God bless. Yeah.